The time has come to unite the world under one nation, an 8-bit nation, a neon green nation, the CoCo Nation. The CoCo Nation Show, coming soon.
The CoCo Nation Show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCo Nation Show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCo Nation.
Radio Shack? Okay. What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCo Nation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 331 of the CoCo Nation Show. How y'all doing?
Bit rushed. Just made it on time.
But he's
All
here.
right. Yep, he's here. Let's see.
All right.
And we'll see who else we got with us today. I need to push a button over here. There we go. I made a couple of co-hosts, but probably not enough. First up, we got Marco.
Hello there. And there's only two of us besides you, so you better make a few more.
Yeah, okay. Well, people were late today. Let's see. Next up, from the studios of WKOCO, Robert Emery.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, you got to take us a tour of that thing here before long.
Oh, sure.
Let's see. Next up, yours truly. Then Patrick Euland.
Greeting, folks.
All right. And next row, we got Ron Delvaux.
Hi there. How's everything going?
Yeah, we're
Welcome
still on
to
the
the
right
show.
side of the daisies.
Yep.
Ken Waters back at the main homestead.
Hey, that's me.
Okay, and long time no see, Brian the Music Man.
Hello, everybody. Getting my stuff back in order.
Still unpacking from Coco Fest?
No, it's actually all unpacked pretty much. I just gotta
Time to
pack up some of the stuff I do have and ship it out.
Oh, okay.
You could just ship it all to Brian Weasler.
If he's got the money.
Let's
Let's
see.
talk.
Next up on the panel is Al Curtis Boyle.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
And traveling across, let me guess, Ohio?
That's right. Coming to you live from the highways and byways of North America, more specifically Ohio at the moment, where the nice and flat part of the state. But yet, I brought a little cooler, and I do have my Diet Dr. Pepper.
All right,
But
cool.
no water.
Oh,
No water.
it is.
There you go.
All right.
I'll just mix them in my stomach.
That
Jason,
man's
you
going to
get-
mix the
you getting
David
any
Ladd.
rain?
What's
You
that?
getting any rain, Jason, from the
Looks sunny there.
huge
It has
storm?
been beautiful. It has been beautiful and sunny yesterday and today so far.
Okay.
We'll
All right.
see.
Next up on the Hollywood Squares, we got Brian Weasler.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. And we are getting the rain. We're on about 4 inches over the last 3 days, so
Yippee.
we're getting soaked.
Yeah, we're supposed to
keep-
get it. We're supposed to catch hell tonight.
Keep those cocos high.
That's
Looks
right.
like I actually have hair with the plant behind me there, so I don't know.
Just needs a bit of
Yeah, but
combing, but you know.
80s
It's
hair.
green though. I would go to
Okay,
the doctor
Buckwheat.
for that.
Let's see. Next up, we got Kevin H.
Hello, everybody.
With
Hello.
some Mountain Dew. Let's see. Next up is David Ladd.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I hope you're planning to sit and stay a while. This is going to be another long episode.
Well, at
David,
least
you sound a lot better. Are you
Yeah, it's
feeling
like
a lot better too?
You're sounding human.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting there. I'd say probably 50%. It's yeah, COVID is not exactly the most entertaining sickness to have.
Okay, and last but not least, The Thunder from Down Under, Nick Marentes.
Good day, everyone. Episode 331, is it? We still haven't learnt.
No.
Just
All
wait,
right.
Nick, until we get to 333.
Oh, what's happening then?
Oh, you'll find out, Nick.
Oh, no.
It's only half
halfway to
evil.
666.
Way evil.
Yosemite will erupt.
We haven't learned by now. We're not going to learn.
That's right. All right, in the chat, so we've got Mark and Marco, Tom Eric Gunderson, Kevin Holloway, Mark Siegel is there. And we got David Sharon Veery, Chris Dries. How do you pronounce that? Durys. How do you pronounce that?
There is. I'm not sure.
Okay. I want to
He'll
get it
tell us.
right. You know, I'm good at butchering names.
We know.
And
We hear it
let's
every
see.
week.
That's right. It's a new adventure in linguistics.
My favorite part is he changes the pronunciation for the same name every week too, just to keep us on our toes.
Let's see. We got Frank Lindhairs.
Retro Rewind.
Retro Rewind, yes. Let's
Thank you, Retro
see.
Rewind.
Who else we got here? That's not a repeat. Phantom 8-bits.
Says Durys.
Durys. Okay, let's try to remember that. Okay, let's see. First up today, we have Brian Weasler, project updates and acquisitions. So let me highlight you.
Coming live from Warehouse 13.
Come on, mouse. You know, I'm not a fan of this new thing that Zoom has where everything's a hand to move it around, and they make the button for finding the spotlight a lot harder. I don't know if you guys noticed that. All right, you're up.
Today I want to kind of share some paper that maybe some of you may or may not have seen before. Some of these I've not seen. I haven't had a chance to. Haven't had a chance to see if they're all on the archive or not. If they're not, I'll add them to my list.
Now, are these papers for rolling the stuff behind your head?
No, sorry. No, wrong.
Oh,
that stuff wouldn't. That stuff probably would make you sick versus give you a.
Right.
Yeah, that don't matter.
Brian shows us toilet paper.
Ronnie
Thanks,
Shaw
Brian.
here.
Let's see here. Get these orientated here. So, Lewis and Clark Exchange, the color computer newsletter.
are we going back in time or what?
Yeah, some of these are. Yeah, this is 1980, January of 1986. So I guess I was kind of glad to see Curtis join because I kind of feel like maybe he might have seen some of these before or maybe not. I don't know.
Not Lewis Clark. That's a new one on me. Where is it? Where's it from then? Is there? I don't think there's a town called Lewis Clark. Is there?
No, I'm not sure if it really says anything here on where it was located.
Actually, Lewis and Clark were explorers of the Louisiana Purchase, so it might have a reference to that. Or not.
But they went quite a ways, so that doesn't really narrow down where that is.
It says here, I don't know, it says Lewis and Clark Exchange, Lewiston, Indiana. Not sure.
Lewistown, Indiana.
Yeah.
Okay. Not too far from Chicago then.
So, but not all the issues though, but I got about a dozen issues of it.
I'm 99% sure that those are not on the archive.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to double check and then put little sticky notes on them before I put them back in the box.
So are there programs in there?
There's a little bit there. This is like editor's notes that we have here. Here's Mr. Dig, a little crossword, and looks like they had the crossword from last month's there. Looks like there's a recipe here for baked Delvaux, CoCo travel, exchange background, submissions. Looks like it was just kind of just a little newsletter that somebody put together, just various different things with people in the community sharing.
Looks like there's a subscription tear off at the bottom of that last page.
Yep.
Was this associated with a club?
Yeah, I would guess so.
Please enter my subscription to Lewis and Clark Exchange for 1 year, 12 issues, $10. the overseas,
I
then yeah,
would,
you can
I
mail
would
it in.
guess it's
Okay.
more like a store, probably. It was probably an independent dealer or something.
So, considering this kind of looks like a one-man show, is there a parent somewhere that named his child Lewis Clark? And this is his newsletter.
Yeah,
As long as his last name's not Exchange.
right. I haven't had a chance to really go read through some of these, so I might be able to, after I read a little bit. A background here. Here's his Lewis and Clark background. Lewis and Clark Exchange was created with the idea of a newsletter that not only gave the information about the color computer in software reviews, programs, feature stories, and more, but supplies you with little knowledge about the people who own and operate our CoCo. All basic programs listings you will find in the Exchange are formatted for 32 character screens, so they will show on any of your CoCos there. So yeah, I don't know. It's like it's just a little newsletter that somebody put together. So
what
yeah,
was
most of these
Super-
small ones were usually associated with a club, so I thought maybe there was a loose Clark Cocoa Club or something. But
What
maybe
was
not.
Superman's name?
Clark Kent.
Kal-El.
Oh, Clark Kent.
Again,
Yeah,
your
that's-
Lewis's and Lois's and Clark's all mixed up, right?
Yeah.
here's another one here that I have a couple issues of. It was the CoCo Trader.
That one I remember reading about because that was basically meant for people to exchange and swap and sell and buy, right?
Yeah, because it says like for sale here, and it's just saying, you know, here's a person listing that they have a multi-pack interface, $49 plus shipping.
Yeah, because there was another one called CoCo Ads that did a fair bit of this and then became almost a full-blown magazine. It was like 48 pages and started doing articles and stuff too. But this looks probably a little bit later because CoCo Ads, I think, was a bit earlier, like CoCo 1-2 era.
Not doing a very good job of holding this in the right direction for you guys, but
Think
great
they
kid
still have
stuff.
that? Is their phone number in there?
You used to want the multi-pack, yeah? You still have that ready yet?
How much was a stamp?
29 cents.
Yeah.
Really? Gee.
So anyway, so that got a couple issues of that one. Let's see here. What else we got here? This one I thought was kind of interesting. I'm not sure if I completely understand it here, but it was called Adventure Survivors.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with this one.
So, and it looks like they kind of break down games. Am I reading that right there? Curtis?
Yeah,
They
it's
kind
for
of-
adventure game fans. So they publish reviews of games. They interview some of the developers, like Glenn Dahlgren was interviewed a few times from Sundog because he wrote quite a few games for like Prickly Pear and then Sundog itself. They also publish hints and tricks. People are asking questions. It was basically anybody that likes adventure games on the CoCo. It was a way to learn about them, read reviews and say in case you wanted to buy them. In fact, Adventure Survivors themselves, after some of the CoCo companies shut down, actually got the rights to sell their adventure games on their behalf after the company was done. And they did that for a few companies. I can't remember which ones off the top of my head, but basically they were huge fans of adventure games. If I remember, it was a husband and wife team, I think.
Okay.
That did it. And occasionally they reviewed stuff that wasn't quite an adventure, like Cronus Rift, like you're showing here. I guess there's some adventure-ish tones to it, but I wouldn't call it an adventure game.
And then they had one on Rogue here.
Yeah, they sold complete solutions too. They usually gave you some hints and stuff in the magazine itself, but they wouldn't usually publish the entire solution because you still want to win the adventure game. You just don't want to get stuck somewhere for like 10 months.
Right. So yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting there. I saw.
Now I will mention the archive does have Adventure Survivors, but they don't have a complete run. You may have some issues there they're missing.
I have to see, yeah, because this is, this is definitely not a series that I have all the way through here. I mean, I got everything from like 91, 92, 94. So it's real sporadic, but yeah. What else did I have here? I was going to show here. No, not that one. Sorry. Okay, here's just one issue of this. I don't know how if it was just one issue and then it came out, but it was called the CoCo Report. This just says issue number 1, March of 1996.
From CFDM, that was Rick's Computer Enterprises magazine, wasn't it?
Okay.
I don't know if
Yep, right, yeah, Rick's Computer Enterprises right here in the corner.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, I just saw the CFDM
Yep.
at the top there. They were from Kentucky or something, weren't they?
Yep, Liberty, Kentucky. Yep. So
I don't know if that had multiple issues or not. I do remember seeing it at one of the CoCo Fests, but I don't remember. I didn't get one, so I don't know too much about it.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay. And then this is just some random paperwork. And like I said, I'll have to try to see if some of this is out here though. But this was from I got a couple copies of the Color Computer Preservation Society.
Yes, that had, I think, 4 issues. That was Steve Bjork helped with that one, if I remember correctly. That was in the 2000s.
Yeah, this one doesn't, if it really has a cover. If this one was the first one, but this one here says then volume 1, number 2.
Yeah, number 1 is missing on the archive. So if you have the first issue, we definitely need that one scanned.
Okay.
And there's, I think, 2, 3, and 4 are on the archive, if I remember.
So that was
if there's any more past that, then they'll have to be scanned too.
Wasn't Carl Boyle part of that also?
Carl Boyle? I honestly don't remember. That was when I was in the hinterlands. I was just doing my webpage and I wasn't coming to CoCo Fest anymore because my personal life kind of took over everything. So that was when I was in my 10-year hiatus.
Oh, I'm thinking about the OS9 group. That's what I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Yeah, it says comments and questions here, and it says CO Rick's Computer Enterprises, and here it says material reviews Steve Bjork, editor and Tech News. Cast of characters, article compilations here, references Alan Huffman, Rick Cooper, and Scott. I can't
Griepentrog?
Has to be Griepentrog.
Yes. Yep, that's exactly who it is. Yep, I could not pronounce the name there. Thank you.
Rick Cooper is Rick's Computer Enterprise that did that CFDM we were just mentioning earlier.
Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, so depending on how many issues you have, the first one is definitely missing in the archive. 2, 3, and 4 there. If there's anything past 4, 1 for sure you'll have to scan, but if you have anything past 4, then you'll have to do that too.
Okay.
I don't remember how long that one ran though.
And just a couple issues of this one here. It was the CoCo Tech Journal. I had just a couple issues of this one here, but it seemed like they got a little more colorful as they kind of went along here. But and it looks like it might have been copies because this looked like someone took colored pencils to do this one.
I wonder if they had kids.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
So, but yeah.
This is not one I'm familiar with. I do not know this one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to do, like I said, do some more digging, and if anything, get some of these scanned up there. So it might be.
Does it have anything like where that's from? Like what city? Like if you wanted to subscribe or something, or who's in charge of it?
Let's see if I can get the whole back issue here. Let's see. There we go.
Always interesting to know where these originated from.
Yeah.
CoCo Tech Journal, Bantam, Kentucky, or Connecticut, CT.
Connecticut.
CT's Connecticut. Kentucky's
KY is Kentucky. Yeah.
Yeah, KY. Yep. Welcome to the second issue. Peaks and pokes. So it looks like just information. PAL chips. Back to basics. It's like just like somebody writing articles and things like that, and then submissions. You know,
Yeah, this one I don't remember at all.
So, okay.
Did you get
I'm
these
guessing you
all
have
from
to
the
scan
same?
all those. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Did you get these all from the same place?
Yes. Yep. This is
Wow.
all part of that large collection there. That
Wow, somebody spent a lot of time collecting. I mean,
well,
these are
actually, a lot of these that I'm showing you, I'm just to be respectful of him, not to show his address there, but it was he actually subscribed to all of these journals.
yeah, I know. It's
So
just
this
take the
one here,
time to
I think
subscribe
people
to
see
them
this one
and
here,
keep 'em.
the underground or
Yeah.
undercolor.
Undercolor, that's Dennis Kitts.
Yep. So, and I don't know how many issues there were, but this goes all the way just through issue number 11. So I'm not sure if that's all there was. I'll have to go and look and
I
see.
can't remember how many there was, but I do know they were one of the few that actually incorporated into Rainbow when they shut down. So they actually made a
Okay.
deal.
Okay.
And,
Kind of interesting. This looks like it's a CoCo inside a person's shirt there. I don't know. Some of these were really, they had interesting.
Dennis says,
interesting
as you've seen on the interview, he's an interesting guy. So
Yes. Yeah, I remember. I remember our interview with him. Yep. So, next is so I think this is all. Yeah, this is all the same here. It's the CoCo Clipboard magazine.
I do remember that one.
And this is volume 1, issue 1, and it goes all the way up through, what do we got here? Volume 3, issue 3.
Oh, you might have a complete run then.
So I just like, because like a lot of these looks like they were, I mean, they weren't like just regular glossy magazines. They were just, printed on 11 by 17 paper and folded, stapled, and out the door they went.
Yeah, we had quite a few of those, especially after Rainbow was folding.
Mm-hmm. And this would have been an 87. It looks like it went all the way up through 1990.
Yeah, I just saw mention of the TC9. That was 1990. So,
yep.
Hey, what's it say about the CoCo 4?
That's the MM1, TC9, TC70, possibly System 4.
So next here, I'd like to show you, and these are all kind of interesting. These are actually almost like newspapers. So the Color Microjournal.
Yeah, I do remember this one too. That is like a newspaper. That's an earlier one too. That's from the 80s.
Yeah, this would be volume 1, issue 1.
Yep, September of 83, I think.
September of 83. Yep.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah, we got about a dozen issues of this one. So I was kind of like, it was almost like a newspaper that you'd almost just like you might subscribe to the newspaper. So yeah.
Kind of like Rainbow was at the end.
Right. Yep. And here's the one that you referenced earlier here, Curtis. Let me get the whole stack out here. I think this is all the same, or is this separate here? Hold on. Is this all the same, or I got two different things here? Sorry, hold on. Yep, this is all the. I got them upside down. Shoot. Here we go. Okay. This has kind of a stapled note on it. I didn't want to pull out, but this was the the CoCo ads that you talked about here. Complimentary first issue. I didn't have the second issue in the stack here because they kind of an interesting numbering. Instead of doing like volume 1, issue 1, they went like A1, A2, A3, and then A4. And then when you get into the next year, then they go to B, C, and so on and stuff like that. But this is like what you were talking about, the ads here where people
and then they kind of expanded to actually have articles and stuff too. So
yeah, but again, it's kind of that newspaper again look, which is kind of cool.
At least some of those are on the archive. I don't know how complete it is. You might have some they're missing there too.
Yeah, because some of these were just folded in half like this. Other ones were full blown, like much larger, almost like newspaper size. So yeah,
you're going to be a busy boy scanning all these things.
Let's see here. I think I have. Was that it? That I wanted to show.
We do appreciate that greatly.
I need to go look and see with this because some of this goes up quite recent, so I'll have to go look and see. And this is only CoCo related because of the community. Whoops, my stack is moving on me here. Sorry, guys. There we go. So those of you that have subscribed to the Glenside newsletter or the CoCo 123, here's a pretty good stack of originals of the CoCo 123 here. So I'll have to go and look and see. I'm sure they probably have a lot of these here already.
They do have chunks missing. I will tell you. I had to scan. I scanned about 7 or 8 myself last year that they were missing and put up there, but there's more still to go. So you might have some.
I'm probably not going to. Oh, okay. So here it is. Brian, are you looking at Brian Schubring? Are you looking at the screen here?
Oh yeah, I remember doing that. I also renamed the that article too.
Oh, okay. So when I was thumbing through real quickly, Brian's name jumped out at me right there. So
yeah, that's when I was leaving that because it used to be the president's platter or something like that. That's
Platten or something, yeah.
Or plan, and I changed it to the president's term.
Okay,
that's because you were an 09 guy.
You got it
right. And on some of the issues here, they had pictures of the people that were like the president,
officers,
officers of the club here, and it's kind of hard to see them though. But there's some very young Tony Peraza here, and
it's kind of sad because some of those people are no longer with us, and that's Like
Yeah, there's,
George is gone. Bob Swoger, you'll probably see a few of him. He's gone.
Yep. Let's see here. Yeah, where did I see Bob's picture in here? Sorry. Was that Bob right here? No.
I must say yours are in much better shape than mine. Mine, the Xeroxing kind of stuck together between issues, so it's
okay.
Peel the paper off and it's a chunk of black all over.
Oh, here we go. Actually, had some color ones here. So here's Tony, Chris Hawk, Bob Schwarger,
George Schweines, or I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Brian, you might know.
Yeah.
Brian, other Brian, Music Man Brian.
Okay.
Yeah. You're talking about John Mark on the end, John Mark Mobley.
Yep, on the end there. Yep.
Yeah, he's still active in the community.
Yeah.
Yep.
Swoger.
Is that Howard Lucky?
He's not on
fourth over from the left.
Nope, that's George. What's his name? Schweinweiss?
Schneeweiss, yeah.
Schneeweiss,
Yeah, we
okay.
used to have picnics over there out in Forest City, which was south of here.
I think the last time he attended CoCo Fest before he passed away, I think it was like 95 or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, 95, 96, yeah.
Yeah. Good long life.
Yep. He left a lot of stuff.
And Brian's got it all now? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh.
God, I would need about 2 acres of land.
And this is all CoCo stuff, or is this just all kinds of stuff?
Just for that, for the barns.
Yeah, but is it all like computer related stuff, or is it just a mixture of all kinds of stuff?
It's a mixture of everything, including Betamax.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, if that stuff's still around and his family still has it and wants to get rid of it, maybe Brian would be interested.
No, well, not me.
No, I meant, the big collector Brian here.
Yeah, no, BW.
Yeah, BW, right? Okay. Then just the last thing I wanted to kind of share with you guys then, if anybody's looking, or been waiting for, doesn't really come in very well. That white is just getting blasted out of there, isn't it? There we go. So Ed the Zipster Stone there, Zipster Stone
Zipster Zone.
Zone. I get myself all tied here. He had a few of these here out on his site here about a month or so ago, and then recently he put there's been 6 of them up on the site there. So if anybody's been waiting for any of his CoCo DACs, I think there's still 5 available as of the other day. If anybody's looking for one, I went.
What is the CoCo DAC? Is that like an Orc 90 clone, or what is that?
It's like an Orc 90 clone. I'm trying to remember now. There's a switch on it which allows you to, I think, is it switch into a ROM or something like that, so you can actually. I'd have to look at the information again. I was going to print it out, and I didn't get that done this morning, so I could be a little more prepared.
Yeah, because the original Orchestra 90 has a ROM with its own little musical language, and you can compile on in stereo. 2 8-bit channels, but I'm not as familiar with Zipsters.
Yeah, I'd have to get a little more prepared on it. I just wanted to share in case anybody's been, because there was some comments out on the Discord when somebody said there was some available, and a few guys chimed up saying, "Oh, I've been waiting for a while." So if there's anybody that's been waiting for to buy one of his DACs, they're out there. So that's all I have for you guys today.
That's all.
That's all.
What?
The fact that you keep that pace up every week is just stunning.
Okay. Let's see. Any other project updates?
None for me. I will mention one little side project I'm doing, which is related a bit to what Brian was showing. Doing my research for Chronological Gaming and for the timeline section of my games website, I've been trying to gather up every magazine that had CoCo stuff in it or CoCo ads in it, from the early years. And I'm currently in April of '83 is what I'm doing. But I've been making a spreadsheet grid of every single CoCo publication I can find, or even more expanded ones that included the CoCo, like some of the Terrace 80 style stuff, or even some of the general things like compute and stuff, if they had any articles or programs or whatever. And There's a lot. I mean, just going through the stuff in the archive alone, I think I've got like about 4 dozen different publications over the years. And Brian just showed me 1 or 2 I've never seen before and aren't on the archive. So apparently I've got more to add to it. But once I get it done, it's going to have a list of, as far as I can tell, what issues were available, which ones are actually scanned on the archive, either the Internet Archive or the CoCo Archive, because there's some stuff that's on one, not the other. And Brian will be able to fill in some holes in there too, by the looks of it here. But for people that are trying to do research for in the future, I'll publish that on either my site or on the archive itself and update it as I get updates. But eventually you'll be able to find out, like, this magazine ran from this month year to this month year, and these 2 issues are missing, but we know they exist, type thing. So that'll help with some researchers in the future.
You gonna be looking for like club newsletters?
Yeah, I've got a whackload of my own here from my own local club. Period here, but
okay. Yeah, I've got a pile.
I got to scan in all these too. So, and there's a fair bit there. So Brian, there's some more coming your way on the scanner. So, I'll feel for you when you're scanning yours, because I'll be scanning mine.
And I like the test pattern that Bob's got on this panel there.
Yes, DC.
Yeah, there was a 3 Musketeers earlier.
Oh, Brian Weezer, you're muted too, because I saw your mouth moving, but I didn't hear anything.
I was going to ask David Ladd, did the group that you had down there where you're at, did you guys have a newsletter?
Paging David Ladd. Free Dr. Pepper.
Yes,
Sorry.
we did. Unfortunately, I don't know if
Did he freeze?
David?
Boy, the one time you want him to talk.
He dispersed.
Oh my goodness.
His diet Dr. Pepper level in his bloodstream must have fell too low.
It crashed.
Because I actually think when I was younger, I may have actually attended 1 or 2 meetings there. There was a guy that when I was at the mall in his area, he worked at the Radio Shack, and he invited me down there, and I might have actually gone to a couple meetings. I might have actually seen David Ladd and didn't realize I'd seen David Ladd back in like 1990 or so.
We're sorry. No, I'm just...
No, it looks like David dropped off completely. So
Yeah,
anyway,
must have a bad
okay.
connection.
Just curious.
It sounds like he said he didn't have the issues. I wonder if there's anybody else left from the club days back in the day that might still have some of them. Because I had a few myself, and then I'd lost a few mine. But then the former newsletter editor for us still had his copies, and he was getting rid of all his CoCo stuff, which I inherited. So I have the complete run, I believe. There might be some little handout note things once in a while when we had shows, but those I probably don't.
Okay. So along with software preservation, we have magazines and newsletter preservation.
Yeah, and the CoCo had surprisingly a lot of magazines. I mean, one thing I found, like you were mentioning before, Brian, that you have newsletters. Some are advertised as magazines in rainbow, but they're basically newspapers or newsletters, just really thick. And then you get stuff like the International Color Computer Club, which is based out of Texas, which their newsletter ended up getting a color glossy cover, and it was 115 pages or something like that. That's a pretty large newsletter. But at one point, and I think it was August or September of 1983, as far as glossy professionally printed magazines, we had 5 devoted to the CoCo only that particular month. That was right before CCN folded. And if you want to find out what happened there, you can watch your interview with Bill Sias, who actually was the editor. But there was 5 dedicated CoCo magazines. And I'm trying to think, like even for the Atari 8-bits, the Commodore 64 and stuff, was there ever a time where they had 5 full glossy magazines devoted to the one computer?
Not sure.
And then we had some other ones later on, like Spectrogram and a few others. So we had a few others that actually became, basically professional magazines too. So
we had 5 for the Atari, but one of them was made by Atari themselves.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to include that, I'd include Tier City Microcomputer News, but that was from Tandy and covered more than just CoCo's. So if you want to include that, I guess 6. But I wouldn't say it's devoted to the CoCo. But these were CoCo only magazines, like not covering the other tiers. I mean, if you want to include those, there's 80 Micro, 80 AOS Journal. There's a bunch of others too. So it kind of proves that, how popular the CoCo was, even though Tandy did not advertise these magazines in their stores. And if you didn't know about them, or got lucky enough to have a local book chain carry them, I mean, you'd have no clue they even existed. The fact that they had enough to sustain that. We had Hot CoCo, Color Computer News, Color Computer Magazine, Rainbow, Color Microjournal, and other ones since before, like Spectrogram and a bunch of others too, Undercolor, which you showed. So there has been quite a few of them, and I mean, they weren't small either. Like when that August or September, I think CCN, Color Computer News, was 130, 140 pages or something like that. I think Rainbow was in the 200 plus range. In fact, it might have been up at the 300 plus range at that point. They broke 350 a few times. Color Computer Magazine was close to 100 pages. Hot CoCo was over 100 pages, I think, at that point. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff being published, and obviously they, several of these magazines kept going for a few years. So I think that was the heyday.
It's kind of funny because I used to sort of think of the Rainbow as inferior to the other CoCo magazines due to its lack of technical content compared to the fluff and stuff. But it was the Rainbow was good compared to what some of the other machines had, period. It's like we were attracting more computer as computer and less computer as appliance to play cool video games on. And that was reflected in our publications that we had.
Yeah, and I had the same opinion. Like I first read Color Computer News in probably mid to late 82, and first Rainbow I saw was August. The thing that always struck me about Rainbow, though, is that they were more beginner oriented and games oriented, as you pointed out. Like the advertisers soon learned Rainbow was the place to advertise games if you wanted to sell. So, I mean, if you wanted to find those later on, but they had a lot of technical stuff, especially later on. They had OS9 columns and Flex and all kinds of stuff. And of course, they had, Tony DiStefano and some others doing hardware. Dale Puckett was writing technical stuff. So that wasn't without tech, but they definitely catered more to the beginner than any of the others did. Color Computer Magazine's about the only other one I think that was kind of in that middle ground of trying to cover the whole gamut equally. And they were quite splashier than Rainbow, I would say. They were a bit smaller, but they looked more like a newsstand magazine than even Rainbow did. But they only lasted from 83, I think March of 83 was the first issue, and they lasted till late 84. I have no idea why they stopped. As far as I knew, they were doing pretty well, but CCN we know because it was due to multiple disasters, physically and personally in Bill's life at the time, that kind of caused that to stop. And of course, Rainbow kept going probably longer than it should have. But I mean, Lonnie really loved the CoCo. That was one thing. That's why he kept publishing it. Like the last 2 years, I think he published at a loss. Subscribership had gone down to like 8,000, then down to 4,000, et cetera, in that tail end. But he kept it going as long as he could. He just about made this 13th year. He was like, I think 2 months short.
All right. We ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Game on results. Ken, you ready?
If I must.
Okay.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this week's CoCo Nation Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week we played Hungry Horus. We had a total of 10 players. We start off with Tasman, who talked about submitting a score, actually was the person that found the kind of a cheat, but I could find no evidence of him posting a score, so I know he played, but I don't know what he got. Sabhead got 13,392. Mark O, 17,125. Exile in Paradise, 44,460. L. Curtis Boyle, 47,804. Mr. Dave, 6309, 49,800. Buck Owens, 195,351. Jim Rye, 810,236. Sloopy Malibu, 1,704,291. And this week's number one score is Canadian Retro Things with 1,801,500. 569. And yes, I did use the little cheat that Tasman found for that score. Thanks everybody that played, and we'll see you again next week.
Hey, Ken,
Yep,
is results misspelled up there?
possibly.
I'm looking at it, it's like, because that doesn't quite look right.
It's the Canadian spelling.
Yeah.
Spelling.
That's
Extra U.
Hey, it took you guys almost 2 years to notice.
That'll get you out of trouble.
Yeah, I have to go back. It's been what, 6 shows or something? At least.
No, that's the program I've been using since, I don't know, like 2021.
A couple of comments quickly here. Buck Owens in the chat says my score was without the cheat. I didn't know about that.
Yep.
And then
But
two, I
is
don't
it
know if you
really-
saw the
it-
mess. Okay.
Is it really a cheat if it's in the game? I don't know.
Well, that's the next point, because Sixty mentioned, I think
It didn't work in his version. Yeah.
yeah,
I
because
did
that
see
was released by 2 companies, and he has the later release, and that does not work at all. So it looks like a bug that they found and fixed when it got released by different companies. So I don't know how you count that.
I don't know. It's all in good fun.
I think since Ken placed in the top 2, I think he's pretty well got to say it counts, right?
Absolutely. And actually, if you use the cheat, once you get up to about 2 million points, it's going so fast it's almost impossible to play. So,
But can you just sit there and just keep going up to 3 million, 4 million,
No.
et cetera, and not care?
no, you can't, because you can only get about between 100 and 200,000 per screen using the cheat, and then you have to actually beat the screen and get over to the next level. And
okay.
once you get up to about 2 million, the bad guys are moving so fast, it's almost impossible to get off the screen before they kill you.
Okay. I didn't try the cheat, so I'm not too familiar with it. I just know it has to be about hanging on the bell or something.
Yeah, you just stand on the bell and it racks your score up. So
Now, Curtis, do you put the cheats and stuff on your list? You know,
My game site?
yeah.
Not usually. There's a couple because they're exceptional cheats that I have.
We need to.
I think you have the poltergeist one, don't you?
Yeah, that one I mentioned because that's a glaring bug that should have been caught in
Yeah.
testing. One of the Mark Data Products ones, it was a Tut's Tomb, or the other one. The 2 arcade games are kind of Tutankhamonish. The original author of it, Rob Shaw, actually told me there's a cheat mode that's still in the game with a certain key sequence. And I had it up on my site briefly years ago, and they said, I don't want it to be public. So I just mentioned that it exists. But if you take a look at the source code for the HTML, it's still in there. So go ahead and take a look. And then the other one that I left on, I think, is Rogue, because it's basically they left the entire that's not a cheat mode. That's got like create your own weapons, create your own everything else, and
I think
do
that's on
whatever.
every version too, isn't it?
I don't think so. From what I've heard, it's not only on the CoCo one.
Oh,
But basically, it's like a couple K of code they use for testing, for creating objects and stuff on the fly whenever you wanted to. And basically, it's just they had to put in to disable. They put a branch never if you did this key sequence, so it would never go there. So you just change that to a branch if equal, and voila, there's your entire cheat mode. So that one I did because I actually listed the patch to do it, and the patch is included on the OU version of Rogue. So if you want to try it, it's already enabled on there. Have fun.
One time I went to the doctor because I had Tutankhamonish. Just like you said. I've never heard that said before. It's kind of Tutankhamonish.
Probably because I just made it up.
Don't
All
worry,
right.
there's an ointment for that.
Yes.
So, getting back on track away from Ron's medical conditions. There was
Well, let me show you.
There was one review that Buck Owens pointed me towards that was in the Dragon User June of '84 magazine. And it's just they're talking about a number of different games here, and they do mention Hungry Horus. One thing that they mention is it took 18 months before it was released on the Spectrum for it to be released on the Dragon. So, not sure whether it actually took 18 months to do or somebody just.
Did you say June of '84?
Yeah.
You want to highlight me for just a sec there, Mark?
Okay.
I'll stop my share there.
Okay.
If you remember at Boat Fest, I got
That's
gifted
the
one
one right
issue
there.
of Dragon User set. Exactly.
That's it right there. That is the one.
That's a wild coincidence. Anyway, sorry,
So
go
that
ahead.
has Hungry Horse in it.
Yep.
Okay, where was that? Go back to that. Okay, so as I said, about 18 months to between the time that it was originally released on the Spectrum to when it was released on the Dragon. And this author thinks the graphics were excellent. And if you like maze chasing games with a difference, then he recommends it. Even thinks that Cuthbert has a new rival with Horus on the Dragon. And soon Horus should be skiing and fighting spiders as he does for Sinclair owners. But I don't know, were there any other Horus
games? Yeah, Horus Goes Skiing actually did come out for the Dragon as well.
Okay.
And that's kind of a combination of a Frogger style game for the first half, and then because basically you're trying to get to the ski hut to buy your
you got to
skis.
cross the highway to get the skis.
And
then
it's really hard. It makes Frogger look
Yeah.
easy. And then you have to actually go down a skiing slope,
I
dodging
think I've
trees.
played
and
that
stuff.
on the Spectrum before.
Yeah, there's a Coco/Dragon version of that as well.
Okay.
I don't think we've covered that one on the challenge either.
No, haven't covered that. That's interesting. We'll have to try that one of these days. Yeah, so obviously the cheat that we were talking about that got those really high scores were when you go through the maze and you get to the bell, which scares off the park rangers, I guess they are, that are chasing you. If you just stand on the bell, it racks up your score on certain versions.
Yeah, and just to give you the specifics here, 60 just posted in the chat. He said it's Melbourne House versus Preston Computer Games. I believe Melbourne House is the one that we were using, which is the older one, and then the Preston Computer Games is the later one with that bug fixed. He also said the Dragon version looks much better than the Spectrum version. The Spectrum version looks very sterile. I haven't actually seen the Spectrum version, so I can't compare. I don't know if you have, Ken.
Yeah, I've seen Horus games on the Spectrum. I don't think I've seen this one, but yeah, the Spectrum, the graphics are not as nice. It's I don't know, not as poppy.
Well, I think it depends because the Spectrum had much big vibrant colors in the same res as our P-Mode 4, but had that weird 8x8 tile. You
Yeah,
only have
it
two
had
colors.
to be boxed. It had to be boxed. So most people that made games, especially like a maze game like this, you would just do it all in one color because otherwise you just have a colored
Right.
box moving around the screen.
Yeah,
which would look
we had
weird.
what they called color clash, which means if your character was going in
Yeah.
front of a tree, he would suddenly turn green and then turn back to his normal color after he passed
Yeah,
it.
exactly. I don't know. Anybody else have other things to say about this game? I think believe it has 5 screens and then it repeats.
I like the fact that it's like a Pac-Man maze game. You're eating dots,
Yeah.
etc. So that way it's the same. I do like the fact that you could not go back to finish a previous screen, so you could not complete all the dots, for
Yeah.
example.
But you didn't
But
have to
you didn't
complete all the
hold you
dots.
back. You had to get them all to get to the next screen, like a lot of games at that time era did. You could just say, screw it, it's too hard to get though. I'll probably die if I have to get that last line of dots up in the corner. I'm just going to the next screen. So that was kind of nice. It was a bit more open-ended than a lot of the games of that era, which
Mhm.
were very regimented as to what you had to do first before you can proceed on.
Exactly.
Gameplay
yeah.
tips, do what Ken and Tasman did.
And Sloopy and Jim. Jim's score wasn't quite as high because he just got bored and quit. I guess that means me and Sloopy are easily amused because we both almost got 2 million points.
Yeah, no, in my case, I didn't know about that when I played it, and I get a chance to play it this week, but I probably would have been like Jim Ryan, got bored doing that. But-
Although I do have to say it was boring at first, but once you got up above about 1 million points, it started speeding up so much that it actually got challenging. So
Yeah. So it's not an infinite, you can just go forever.
yeah,
You still have
it's
to have
not an
some skill.
infinite thing. Like it, yeah, it's like giving the game the high speed poke, basically, I guess. All right, so yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about Hungry Horse other than yeah, decent little game.
I don't know if you saw 60's latest comments. I'll have to read these out. These are great.
Okay, go ahead.
60 goes, also, what the hell are the park rangers in the Spectrum version? They look sus, frankly. And then goes, yeah, but the graphics were clearly redrawn for the Dragon version by someone with talent. I sure hope Aaron and Boat are watching. They can comment on that from playing all the games.
Whoever drew it for the Dragon version basically was using Mario as a because they really kind of looked like Mario. I thought.
Yeah, I guess it kind of did, didn't it?
Big mustaches running around the screen. Another game where we have Mario characters in it.
It might have been Luigi. You never know.
Yeah, could have been. Anyway, so the other game that we were playing this week was Kingpede, which is a Millipede clone. And,
the only one I know of on the CoCo. And it was actually from a tape magazine, which is surprising.
And a lot happens in that game. It gets very difficult very fast.
I was actually, I'd only played the game a little bit when I did my page entry way back when. So I saw, okay, Millipede, but I totally forgot about that wave of, I don't know what the creature is called, that the whole line of them comes flying down into those white flapping
little
things.
Worms or something, or
well, not the worms. The worms were little squigglies, but there was a thing where the whole screen just filled up with all these white things coming down. And you have to dodge and shoot between them all to survive that wave. I don't know what they're called. And that I completely forgot that ever happened, and it kind of surprised me on the live stream. I had no idea what I thought the game had crashed or something, and then no, I guess that's normal. Oops.
But yeah, for a tape game or for a free game that came with a magazine, that was quite a top tier game. Yeah. And easily, like you were saying on the live stream, that one could have been sold very easily.
Yeah.
And with no
I'd rank it up there with Colorpede easily,
yeah,
honestly.
So it's definitely a good version of Millipede. If that's your type of game, then definitely try this one out this week.
Yeah.
With a trackball.
If you
I got to do that. If I can get on the stream this week, I'm dragging my Waco out. I got to try it.
If you have a trackball, do it.
And Nick, I think you have one, don't you? Or you just have a Waco joystick?
Yeah, a Waco joystick only.
Ah, darn. I thought I was going to get an excuse for you to actually come on and play a game.
No.
He only plays his own games because he knows the cheats for them.
Yeah, it's the only ones he scores well at.
That's the only ones I can play.
Who else on the stream here actually has a Waco trackball besides myself, or am I the only one?
I've got one, but I don't have a power supply, so I should probably dig it out and see if I can invent that.
Because
I could probably find the brick for mine.
I would assume Brian has one.
Or
Right.
Brian Weasler or Brian Schubring?
Weasler.
Which Brian do you think he meant?
If Brian Weasler doesn't have one, he'll have one by next weekend.
No, I doubt Brian would have just one.
I said I have 3 for the Atari.
I should be just changing the connector.
Yeah, but for the
really.
Atari, everything for the Atari is just cheap, so it's easy.
I assume it's still a potentiometer based, or do you know, Sleepy, what the interior of the Atari one is?
The Atari is gray code.
Is what?
Gray code.
I don't know what that is.
It's a digital format, which no more than 1 bit changes at a time.
Yeah, it's actual sort of like old mechanical mice.
Oh, okay. So maybe that wouldn't work with an adapter.
Yeah, what does the CoCo use?
It reads like a 64, 063 position potentiometer, so you just roll it across, and it treats it like an analog joystick, basically. So you can whip across the screen pretty fast. You don't have to wait for it to go at max speed.
Or you could just play with an analog joystick on real hardware.
Yeah. I played with a real joystick when I was playing, but that was my deluxe. I got to drag the trackball up to that one.
Give it the authentic feel.
Oh, there he's back. Now you can answer the question. You're muted, Brian.
Sorry about that. I had to step away for a minute.
Oh, we were just talking about you. Don't worry.
How many trackballs do you own?
3.
You know where
you quickly ship some out to the other panelists here so they can use it on the game.
Do you know where any of them are?
Yes.
Okay.
Truck 1, Truck 7, and Truck 42.
Can you give me an exact location?
GPS the location, please. I also need the combination lock number.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
when
Yeah,
Yeah, I mentioned King Pete is because it's a Millipede clone, which is the sequel to Centipede. That it's a trackball friendly game because that's what it was in the arcade. So I was gonna actually drag my Wyco trackball if I can get onto the Game On Challenge this week and play it with an actual trackball. And we were wondering if maybe you could do the same because you're one of the few people that might actually have one. Nobody else on the panel has a CoCo version of the Wyco trackball.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, I'll go grab one. Get it out.
Tell me what voltage its power wart is if it says, because the device itself does not say.
I think it's 9 volts.
Yeah,
So
I can double check.
would-
Mine's actually in this room, so when we go to a break, I'll grab mine out and take a quick look.
Yeah, because I have 2 in a box, and then I have one that was not in the box and came with no power adapter, and I just bought a regular wall wart and had to lop the end off and just put it has like a phone jack type or a headphone jack type of plug on it, so just had to get the orientation right.
So like the wonderful Atari power adapters.
Yep.
Don't accidentally stick them into a headphone jack.
Right. Sinclair like that as well.
What was kind of neat is the original ones, and Curtis I think has one of the original power adapters. That cord is like 9 or 10 feet long.
Yeah,
that came with it. So
you can sit on the couch playing your CoCo, propped up by the TV set there.
Right.
I have a trackball. It's on a it looks like a big fat mouse, but it's got like a hump on it, and it's got the ball onto the right side, the left side of it, I think.
Yeah, it's a
And it
PC
has-
style later model.
which will work on my CoCo Pi.
Yeah, it should work on the CoCo itself if it's a serial based one. If you got a RS-232 pack in the driver. Because I had a Logitech trackball keyboard that had the trackball built in the keyboard on the far right with 3 buttons for it. And that I used on my TC9 and my CoCo all the time.
I was kind of curious how well the trackball. I haven't had a chance to try it. I should try that as well. But the with I was drawing a blank. Paul Piscarelli's joystick adapter. I wonder how well that would work with that.
I have to try that too because I usually play with VCC with that adapter. So I can try it. Oh, Kevin Holloway showing you a Wyco trackball.
Yeah,
Now that does not look like the CoCo version. That looks like an Atari version or something, Kevin. And you have to unmute yourself because you're muted.
Yeah, it's the 9-pin mini DIN plug or the 9 DB9.
DB9.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. It's a little dusty. It's just been in storage.
But that's exact same as the CoCo one, except for the end connector on the cable. That's the only difference.
Yeah, the end connector, and I'm not sure if the electronics inside are different, but because that one will run with no power. Correct? There's no power adapter on that one. Oh, there is. Okay, there is on that one. Okay, yep. Yeah, 9 volts AC.
You guys,
or is that 6 volts? Or is that 6 volts AC?
It's not. It's 6 volts AC, 500
6 volt.
milliamps.
There we go. Yep, that's correct. Yep. Now, once you said it, that sounds right. Yep.
There you go, Rick.
Check. Yeah, because I'd hate to blow one up because I stuck the wrong wall wart on it. Yeah.
So what's the polarity on that AC plug?
If it's AC, no polarity.
It depends.
Operator's choice.
Depends if you have hair soldered stuck to it or not.
Depends on where you are in the cycle.
Right.
Now, the one thing I've never done is ran one of the joystick programs to see what it's actually doing. Is it actually analog where it goes from the 0 to 63, or is it like a?
No, it's analog 0 to 63. I have done that.
Okay, you have done that. Okay. Yep.
All right. Well, yeah. So if you have a trackball, try it out with Kingpede because it's definitely one of the best magazine included games that I've ever played.
Yeah, Ken, we're gonna have to make that a suggestion for Aaron and Brent on the CoCo show. I think because they want themes and stuff, or sometimes ARG they want, but picking like the best of a magazine game might be a good topic for them, and that might be a contender.
Yeah, definitely.
I still haven't gone through the magazine games. There's some there I've seen that are machine language, but I have never played, never seen. They're not individually put in the archives. You actually have to pull it off the original cassette and disc copies of the entire issue. I've gone through a few of them lately because I've had to fix a few of them for the chronologically gaming and for my timeline page. But there's a few in there that sound pretty intriguing. I've never seen, so we'll have to maybe hit some of those later up too.
Yeah. All right. Well, Sloopy, would you like to talk about Thursday night's live Game On challenge while I show some footage?
No.
Sloopy, are you with us?
Paging Mr. Malibu.
No, I'm at nap time.
Oh, you're on muted time?
No, nap time.
Nap time. Okay.
That's during the news.
Well, hey,
No, that's sleep time. This is nap time.
here is some footage from the live Thursday night Game On challenge.
Yes, and we had up to 7 players at once. Thank you, players. Hopefully we have more. It was a enjoyable show with two of the players going back and forth over high score on Hungry Horse, while most people were playing King Pete, as you can see. Hopefully next week we will get more people, but only you can help that. You can come out and join us in playing in the Game On Challenge live.
As you can see in the top corner there, that's the cheat where you just stand on the bell and it racks up your score.
Yep. Yeah, those two cheaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
actually I prefer to think of it as a feature, not a cheat. That's taking advantage of a feature.
No. It's called strategy. Strategy. Get it right.
It's a streacher.
I just think it's interesting that my very high score that was conveniently forgot.
I didn't see your very high score.
Yeah, I know, because you would have forgotten it still.
What was your really very high score?
Higher than yours, whatever it was.
Hey, you only had a screenshot up there of the 1,700,000 and some thousand.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't post the other one because I didn't want you crying about me beating you.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it took me almost 20 minutes to Photoshop it.
Okay.
Eef, what was that?
High quality.
Well, I don't know.
Did you
That's
see
on the
it, Tim?
playback? Yeah, that was on the playback.
Oh. Okay.
There was just too much CoCo goodness going on all at once.
Yeah.
And it broke Twitch for a second.
It went full derp. So, but yes, it's getting to be the days are getting shorter. It's getting dark sooner. People are coming into their houses earlier, and at 8 o'clock, I mean, the kids are in bed or dinner's done. So what's your excuse not to come out and join us playing all these wonderful CoCo games?
Well, for Nick Morantes, it's because he's on the other side of the world, so it goes the other way around. His days are getting longer.
Well, David Ladd has said he has to stay home and wash his hair.
I mean, I play until I fall asleep.
Yes. we were treated to that again this week.
I guess I forgot to mute.
Yeah, if you look at the middle bottom screen, you can see how fast things start moving. That's the screen. The next level of this screen is when I finally died.
Yeah, me too.
And you see how fast they're moving. It's very difficult to stay away from them.
Looks like you rack up 3 men pretty fast, though.
Yeah,
but you only get the maximum of the 6 men up there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you get one every 10,000 points, and So your best bet is to rack them all up, all 6, and then use them sparingly.
Now I have a question for Sloopy, since you're an Atari guy. Centipede was one of the most popular games in the Atari 400, 800, and the 2600, 5200 for that matter. First of all, was there a millipede official for the Ataris?
Yes.
And what was your opinion of the CoCo one versus that one?
What, Kingpede versus Millipede?
Yeah, like the Atari home port of Millipede.
I will let you know next week.
Oh, okay. You haven't tried it?
No.
Or not in a while anyway?
No, I haven't played Kingpede at all.
Oh, okay.
I usually play the game that's ending that week.
Okay. Well, it might have been because you're racking up such massive scores this time too. You're kind of busy.
Yeah, unless it's a game that I'm not in line with. Because I don't want to say that any particular game is bad, because it's not necessarily a bad game. It's just not a game for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like Neutroid for the rest of us.
Neutroid for every person that doesn't have good taste in games.
I just said that to make sure Nick's still awake.
Oh, here's the question. Does Neutroid work backwards down under?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so it rotates the opposite direction than the toilets up here in US.
No, actually what happens is you're putting the Neutroids back in on the southern hemisphere.
Oh, it's additive.
You're trying to get them where you're trying to get
them. Sorry, guys, I just couldn't resist.
We noticed.
Oh. Retro Techie, I want to see you on the Game On Challenge.
Yeah, please. Everybody's invited. It's just join our Discord. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. You can share a screen. You can play an emulator. You can play real hardware if you got the hardware. Hook that up. You can even aim a camera at your screen and play it on an actual monitor if you want to. But
and you can
please
play
feel free to join.
You can play straight off of the archive with the play now button.
Yeah.
Not every game has that, but most of them do, I think.
Most of them do.
Yeah. And I know you have a ColecoVision, so if you have a ColecoVision, you've got to have a computer that can play this.
All right, what else you gonna do Thursday?
Well, like David, you could wash your hair.
And so, yep, Curtis, I see. I did find the instructions and gave them a reading.
Yeah, they were pretty brief. That's one problem with the tape magazines, and I don't know why they did this, because they published, a 2 to 4 page little flyer pamphlet. And on some of the utilities, they go into great detail, like this key does this, and that, it has these options. But for the games, it was like one paragraph, half of that was telling you how to like copy it to disc or tape if you were coming from the other direction. And then a very broad thing, like Kingpede is a Centipede style game, and that's pretty well all they tell you.
If only there was somewhere they could have published an article with all the instructions for these games.
Or even a proper review or something.
Yeah. Yeah, right here is where I die.
Which actually brings up a question I wanted to ask you, Ken. I might as well ask it publicly. You can get the feedback from everybody here. We've had a few game sites that review games, like not just publish specs like I do or Moby Games, et cetera, but actually review the game. Mm-hmm. What's the guy from Alaska's name that I talked about a while ago? He's still up. He's done about 100 CoCo games. But I was wondering if maybe we should make a little weekly, monthly segment or something of picking a game and actually getting a bunch of people on to review it, as opposed to just doing the high score challenge, and just kind of, is it good? How does it compare with other versions of that type of game on the CoCo, and maybe even against other platforms, but actually do an actual game reviews type thing at some point?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Or it could be a part of this segment.
Yeah.
Like on the show.
Like maybe reserve 10, 15 minutes of the show.
I usually try to see if anybody else has anything to say about the thing, but usually it's pretty crickety. It sounds like Sloopy's house right now.
Yeah.
Yes, Sloopy has a cricket in his house.
He was doing a Buddy Holly impression.
But if we make that an official part, say at the tail end of it or the very beginning, the first 10, 15 minutes is actually a review of it or something, or maybe in the middle because people haven't played it before. But just to get honest feedback, especially those who've played, like if you're playing Kingpede, you might have played some other Centipede clones, and you might want to rank it versus those. Or if you've got another system that has Millipede on it, like an Atari 8-bit or something, like how does the CoCo version compare? That type of thing, like actual review, and like you can even do the ratings thing, like graphics, sound, gameplay, instructions, whatever you want to. You're much more game oriented than I am.
Yeah, definitely something to think about.
And we can maybe even, if we give people a warning, maybe do it on the second week of a game or something, that people can even write in reviews that they can't attend because they, they might work on Thursdays or whatever it happens to be, that they can contribute. Oh, there's a swarm of crap. Weezer just did it too.
And I don't know if you noticed down on my play down there, at least earlier, I've I put the high speed poke on Kingpede. And boy,
that's suicide, isn't it?
It gets intense.
I mean, honestly, that was one really nice thing about the CoCo 3 when you got it, because that was like a bonus. Like we had most games you wouldn't want to speed up; it'd be a little bit too fast. But there were some that were a bit slow, like some of the ones I've done 639 optimizations on, like Color Car Action or Marble Maze or that kind of stuff. And we had this built-in upgrade: just do one poke, and all of a sudden everything's playing double throttle, and all of a sudden these games are much more exciting.
Yeah, well, Kingpede does not need it.
No.
They called it overclocking.
What was that?
So we could overclock before they called it overclocking.
Yeah,
exactly.
But it was just nice. That was a feature that was just kind of built in. Like we had the basic speed up poke if you're running basic, but that didn't work on machine language games that were, third-party commercial disc or tape. But it was quite nice having that as a bonus. So some people would go, that Marble Maze was too slow compared to the arcade or the Atari or whatever else, and you didn't have to buy anything else. You still had the game. You just reloaded it up on a CoCo 3, did the double speed poke, and all of a sudden it's a lot better.
Same with the palette command. Puyen. Oh, I changed the colors. There it is.
Yeah.
Blue sky.
But the original colors were so nice.
Yeah.
Especially if you're colorblind.
Hey, the original colors were basically the same as we were playing on Horus this.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Horus was designed. Puyen was a pre-existing one that we could have matched so much better.
Yeah. It had the potential to.
I think maybe it's time to wrap this up. Sloopy, again, where can people join us for the live Game On challenge? When can people join us?
The CoCo Discord. And then on Thursdays at 8 p.m., they can join the
8 p.m. Eastern
voice chat channel and join us while we play.
And do they have to play the games that we're playing?
Yes, they have to play the game that we're playing.
And they have to be on the CoCo.
Yes.
They have to be on the CoCo, but they don't have to be the games that we're playing. They can be any CoCo game. And the idea is just to have fun, get together, and play some games.
And if you're really slick, you don't even have to play it on the CoCo. But I would recommend it because, wow, those pitchforks are sharp.
And I do recommend, even if you end up not liking them, I would recommend you try the 2 games of that particular week.
Yes.
And then if you're just getting too frustrated or it's just not your bag, then you can switch to something else.
Yeah, because every game is not always everybody's bag.
And sometimes you'll discover a game that you've maybe seen it on my site or you've seen it in ads and Rainbow or whatever else. And you kind of go, I'm not interested in that. And then you actually try it, and then you're going, hey, this is actually better than I was expecting, which has happened to me a few times.
Yep, like Neutroid.
Well, the new version of Neutroid does qualify. He fixed all the problems I had with that game. It's much better now.
I don't really consider myself a game player, but I found that the Horus game actually was pretty easy to get into. And it's like, if I would have spent more than, half hour on it, I probably could have done much better than my 17,125. So that's something I would have stuck with.
Basically, the reason that Pac-Man was so popular, it was just an easy game to get into.
Yep.
I think I forgot to do a score. Yeah, well.
Did you forget to do a score, Mark?
Yeah. I didn't go back to go try to capture it.
Yeah, Mr. Dave 609 also said that he forgot to screen capture his score.
Well,
too.
he did, but he wrote in, so I accepted that he wasn't lying. So he wrote he actually did a post.
Oh, you did
saying-
it old school, like the rainbow scoreboard, where it was all people just writing in numbers on paper,
Yeah.
and then some of them were obviously BS.
I'm going to trust it because it was a mid-range score, which
I got 2.2 million.
uh-huh.
That's what I like some of the scores, they would give it if you played the game enough, you knew that the score had to end with a 0, 5 or 50 or something like that. Like there was no oddball scores, and they would write in some like 2,025,000, and you're going, obviously you've never played the game because that's not even possible.
What I think is interesting though about the whole thing is, Ken and I got he got like 10,000 points, and I started playing before him because when I first started playing, I was getting all the little things on the maze.
All the dots.
All the little dots. And he was just going straight to the bell and collecting the bells. So whereas my score per screen was more at the beginning, because I mean, after a while, when he caught up to me and passed me, that's when I started just going to the bells. What I don't understand is that if you look at our games, it looks like the things are moving the same speed. So therefore, if we went to the same level, I should have been a higher score because I was getting more points per level at the lower levels. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but how he got so much higher than me.
I think
I'm sure he's going to claim it was skill.
We kind of figured out it was a bit random on how many points you got when you step on the bell for how long it goes for.
I think it was like 50,000 for the first board, 100,000 for the second, and something like 200,000 for the third.
Yeah. Well, I still beat you, so neener.
All that matters.
It doesn't matter who wins and loses. It matters that
It's just playing the game.
It matters how much fun you had, and I really had fun beating you.
So it doesn't.
We're all winners.
Would you like to
Yeah. Stick the knife in and twist it. Yeah.
Would you like to go? Would you like to go and play Pac Maze on a playoff?
No, you'll kick my butt. Wait, is
Actually,
there a
I thought
cheat for
somebody was
that?
going to challenge him to Neutroid, but
Yeah.
No, that
You def-
would that would be a slaughter.
So would Pac Dude. All right. Well, who would like to see what our new game for the next 2 weeks is?
I want to see it. I want to see it.
There's a good possibility that this might be a good one to use the high-speed poke with. Okay, so we're playing Kingpede for another week, and we are playing this game right here.
oh, I recognize this one. So one of those oddball ones by Adventure International that was ported to multiple platforms, the Tiers 80 Model 1.3, the Atari 400, 800,
Rear
the
guard.
Apple II, and it plays
no.
totally differently on all of them. Well, not totally differently, but it's a different game on each.
Ding, ding, ding. Nick is correct. If nobody heard what he said,
Rear guard.
yep. So
You
rear
guard
guard
your rear.
by Adventure International. So you're flying ahead of the stuff. It's all coming up behind you, and you shoot backwards, and you do have a shield. And you just got to kill everything that comes up behind you.
Yeah. It does have parallax scrolling mountains on the bottom if you want to go back to the game screenshot. And you don't crash by going in between them. You can actually fly between mountains, which is kind of cool.
CoCo 1, 2, 3.
Share.
Yep. 32K required, if I remember correctly.
I have that information right here. It is color computer 1, 2, or 3, 32K RAM, tape or disc, and joystick.
Does it play on a dragon?
It's joystick, so it should. I don't know
yeah.
if 60's tried it or not. He'll have a bit of a delay
Why-
before he can answer.
What's
got-
the kill the letters?
Oh, that's just the first screen to teach you how to shoot.
Yeah, they name
Attack.
each level. So this one, you got to shoot the words ATTACK.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
coming up behind you, and you just have to go in front of it and shoot backwards.
And some of them are cutesy funny too, the little descriptions of each level too. I'll mention.
Yeah.
There's a bit of humor in this.
There
and it's
is
by the same
actually-
author who did Sea Dragon, by the way.
There is a lot of variety in the bad guys. So
60 says he's never played it.
It's I saw it on the TRS-80 Model 1 originally.
Yep. I've seen the Apple II version now. And I think the Atari 400 because I think Chronologic Games covered those because it came out for the CoCo a fair bit later than some of the other platforms because AI didn't get into CoCo stuff until a little bit later. So a lot of their back ports like Sea Dragon and Rearguard and others didn't come out for a while.
I never saw the offsite backup of that for the Apple.
This will be a good one to do our review on the show next week, like the comparison where you were saying before. So if we can bring up little videos of the Apple version, the TRS-80, the Atari, and the CoCo, then we can have a discussion.
But just out of curiosity here, Sloopy and Mark, since you guys have Ataris and Apples, do you guys have a copy or access to a copy of Rearguard to try it so we can show it on the show for a comparison?
I know where to look. I've never seen it. I never had an offsite backup.
I have been actually looking. I was kind of thinking about doing that as one of my Septani videos.
I know a few dark alleys I could probably look in.
Anybody else who might have some others? Like Nick, do you have a copy of the Model 131?
Yeah, I've got that one.
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind seeing like not just a video, by High Retro Game Mode, but actually seeing somebody play it and kind of, so we can hear the sound effects and see the intros and stuff too, and have somebody that's played both
for the Apple.
So Sloopy, if you can find the Atari version, that'd be great. Nick, if you've got the Model 1.3 version for next week, that'd be great too.
Yeah. Or we can get on the show and have them play.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. What Ken said, not what I said. Ignore me.
Yeah, I always do.
I'll also look for it for my Apple too.
I found this USB one.
The
It's not a
Microsoft.
trackball, but it's a Sidewinder. Gamepad Pro,
Yeah.
1999. It's got 2 fire buttons on the back, I guess. I couldn't find my trackball one. Is that like one of the first ones or something?
I have no idea. I got out of gaming by that time.
I don't either.
Yeah, I must try the CoCo version of Rearguard. I don't think I've ever played it. I have played the TRS-80 version a fair bit, but
Yeah, I played the CoCo version a fair bit back in the day.
I found a copy of the Model 1 version.
Iris site or?
Yeah. I couldn't find the Apple II version.
Mark, you said you found it?
Yeah, I want some links, Ken.
Yeah. Just shoot me a link for that.
Very good site is asimov.net.
Oh, okay.
It's like the color computer archive for the Apple II.
Oh, cool.
well, here we go. Sloopy can get the Atari version. Mark can get the Apple version. I'll get the
Already got it.
TRS-80 version, and we'll play those on the
There you
Game
go.
On Challenge Day.
I'll schedule it
we
in.
That's right. It'll be a multi-platform Game On Challenge.
One game.
There you go. I guess we
review
can
it.
make the exception that if you're playing the game of the week, you can show off another version of it. But just don't go off playing.
But you
other
should try the
Apple-
CoCo version too, because what I really want to hear from is people playing both the
Yeah.
CoCo version and whatever to
Right.
see.
But it would be
Especially this game, because it changes a fair bit. There's a couple others that Adventure National, like Eliminator, completely different game depending which platform you're playing on.
It could be for the live Game On Challenge. Then you could have multiple versions of it up at once, so you can see them all playing at once.
Does it
Like it.
does it require a
And-
3 or does it work on a 2+?
I
What?
don't know.
For
I
Apple,
haven't. Yeah, I haven't tried. I haven't tried loading it up yet.
works on a 2+.
Oh,
I
cool.
think it would.
I'll verify
and
that.
I'll
I'm just loading up the Adventure National catalog right now as we speak.
Yeah, I'll have to try
I'll-
2+.
I'll actually be free this for us Friday, so I might actually make it to the show or to the Game On Challenge this
You're going to be
week.
free. How much do you usually charge?
Much.
So
Two
not only
Ferraris.
will it be it will not be also multi platform, it'll be multi-continent.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
what time?
Okay, system requirements for Rearguard. Tier City Model 1 and 3 on tape, 16K,
16K.
32K on disc. Color computer was 16K on tape, 32K on disc. Atari 400, 816K tape, 32K disc. Apple 48K disc, DOS 3.3. So 2+ should work.
So what time is the show for you, Nick?
I'd have to check, but
4.5 hours. Now.
Yeah, I normally check it
9 o'clock in the
around
morning.
11. Well, it's usually around 11 a.m. on the day after.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we've got daylight saving ending. Is it next week or?
Yeah, soon. Yeah.
What would 4.5 hours from now be?
I'll work it out. 4.5 hours from now, going forward. You mean?
Yeah.
It's 5. It's almost 5:30 a.m. here now. So go 4.5. What's 5, 9?
10 in the morning.
About 9:30. Yeah.
Yeah.
9:30,
10
10 in the morning.
So in other words, the live Game On challenge happens Thursday evenings, unless you're in Australia. It's Friday morning
at 10 a.m.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
at 10 a.m.
Be
That
there, be
sounds
stuck
right.
with Neutroid for the rest of your life. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're an hour ahead
yeah.
from Adelaide.
And if you're in
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and if you're in the Netherlands, it starts at 1 a.m. Or no, 2 a.m. My bad. Yeah, they should have gotten right. They shouldn't have went from this flat Earth to a round sphere Earth. Can we go back to the flat one?
Only one
Wait.
time zone.
The Earth isn't flat?
No.
I was waiting for that.
Australia's not real either.
Yeah, those are just people in south of Mexico.
But then how can I see Russia from my back porch?
Cool. That'd be really interesting to see what your guys' opinions are of the different versions of the game on different platforms. So
yeah,
hopefully, if we start doing that more often too, for the games that there was multiple versions of it or comparative versions, maybe we can get more people involved in the Game On challenge that may not necessarily be CoCo primary people, but they can.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. We can try open it up to a few other platforms too.
Yeah, because excuse me, I know from my experimentation, there's been times where like the graphics on another platform are infinitely better than the CoCo version was, but the gameplay actually wasn't. Like there was control problems or something, or vice versa, where a game looked really good on the CoCo, not as good as say a lower res version on a VIC 20 or something. Yet the gameplay was not as good; it was just crappy. So it'd be interesting to do that kind of a comparison. And we do it on a big screen TV like Robert Emery's working on right now. So
there you
Remember,
go.
that's only part of a video wall, so it grows from there.
yeah, he'll be coming on with his IMAX theater version of Rearguard there.
So in the chat, Keith Clark is asking if there's an HD image hard drive
Hard
image
drive,
that contains all the software. Oh, there is the on the archive in there that
Yeah, the
like
ball of all
contains
things.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's multiple versions. There's a DriveWire version. There's the CoCo STC version. Is there a hard drive image version with the 255 virtual floppies? That I don't know.
I don't know, but I think it's you just load.
Except he's saying he's mounting in VCC, so you just need the disk images. So you don't need a hard drive image for that. You can just mount each individual disk, which is how it's organized.
Now, this is interesting.
Oh, I think what's up in the archive is like just one.
One zip with everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've seen an interesting gameplay thing from 60 in the chat where don't spam the fire button because if you press it too many times, the shot's removed for the next one.
It plays like Gorf.
Every time you fire your shot,
So you aren't limited to 3 shots or whatever. If you fire more than 3 shots, you lose one of the shots you've already made.
You're limited to one shot.
One shot.
One shot.
As soon as you hit the fire button again, your previous shot, like if you know you fire, like it fires fairly slow. So if you know your shot's going to miss everything, you can immediately just start another one and the old one dies.
That's interesting.
It's like Gorf in the arcade did the same. That takes some getting used to, I will say, if you're not used to that play mechanic.
It also works good if you have the bad guys really close to you, then you can just keep firing really fast and the shot just comes out enough to hit everything that's right behind you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to wait.
There's a lot of little tips and tricks in the game that you'll probably figure out for your own, but I'm sure Ken will cover some of those on the live stream too, and on next week's show.
Oh no, I'll cover it after I've gotten a higher score than everybody else.
Oh yeah, you have to find your bell trick first, and then milk it for all it's worth. And...
Right.
Actually, I don't care if I beat everybody else as long as I beat Sloopy.
Now, one thing I got to ask you, Ken, for the comparison video between different machines, different ports of the same game, are you going to count those scores if the game ends up being either much easier or the scoring's different? Which a few ports I've seen that too. How do you want to handle that?
I think the scores have to be on the CoCo version.
Okay, I agree.
Just to make it fair.
Okay. Yeah, because I'd noticed like Sea Dragon, if you play in the Atari 400, 800, it's slow. Like you're barely moving.
Yeah.
And if you play it on the CoCo, even level 0 is fairly quick. Level 7's like full speed scramble type thing. Actually, faster than that.
Yeah.
So
cool. Scores with an asterisk.
Yeah, I mean you can post screenshots from the other versions, but make sure you label them as the other versions because
yeah, I think the scoring should be based on the CoCo, like you said, and then the rest is for us just to see like what the other platforms experiencing with the same game.
It is the CoCo Nation game on.
So it would be interesting to know. Okay, Fred made 10,000 on the CoCo, but he made 15,000 on an Atari. So you can say, okay, Atari is a little loose, or something. It would be an interesting thing to know.
We might need to check that the rear guard off the archive works. I'm just trying it now, and it just crashes.
Did you get the disc version or cassette version?
It was interesting when I played it. It goes into it, just kind of crashes, then just hit reset and it starts.
Oh, okay. Let me try that then.
Yeah, if it's like the old Sea Dragon hacked one, and also you could avoid that by doing a clear to protect memory. And I don't remember what it was, but the reset does work. I remember doing that myself.
Right.
I'll check it right now. I got it.
Atari is not loose. She's not that kind of girl. That's a Commodore 64.
The 8-bit wars are back, folks. And we're encouraging it on our from now on.
No,
I think I just unplugged your microphone, Curtis.
Yep, I just caught it with my leg there.
Just unplugged it.
Yeah, well, the cable's it's like the cable for the Wyco trackball's power supply. It's like 10 feet long, so it's always looping down by my leg and stuff. And if I move my chair, catch it the wrong way, it's pretty loosey-goosey as far as staying on the micro USB. I hate those stupid connectors.
Zip ties are your friend. Hook it to your desk.
Well, the thing is, I got to move the mic completely in different spots on different shows. So,
gotcha.
Okay. I still haven't got it to run.
Okay, Brian's running it right now. So,
Yep.
Who is?
Yeah,
Brian Schubring. He's actually got it live in the stream.
It just hangs there, and you got to do the reset, and then it pops up.
Okay, I'm typing. What are you running it on? A real hardware?
Yeah, real hardware CoCo 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I do a load M rear guard, and then it worked this time. I turned it off, the computer off first, and then on again, and now it's working.
That might be you got a static RAM upgrade, right, Nick?
Yeah, yes, that might be something.
Because that takes a good 10-15 seconds sometimes to flush the memory out, and BASIC doesn't fully initialize everything.
Okay, so reset works for regular RAM, but you need even more than reset to work for static RAM.
Yeah, I've heard some other people say that, like they've had.
And I'm sure somebody smarter than me could figure out some sort of a clear statement to put in before you load.
Yeah, I remember Sea Dragons. I don't remember if it's the same for rear guard. The Sea Dragon was clear 200, %H 3000, and then do the load amp. But I don't know if that was the same for rear guard.
All right, smart people, figure it out. That's your job for today.
And somebody, while you're at it, go in and patch it so the rotating world glitch in the graphics from whoever pirated it.
Yeah, I just saw that too. Yeah,
you can fix that back to the way it's supposed to be.
My computer doesn't like it. It froze.
Stoppy.
Now, did you hit something to pause it or something? Sorry, was that Brian?
I'm using a mouse. And when it just froze and locked up. Oh, whoa.
Cool.
I got some nasties.
Daisy, Daisy.
Okay, what happened?
Now I can't move left or right, but I can move up and down.
That's all you can do. It's up and
But
down,
it's
and
like,
if you
your ship.
if you pull back on the joystick, it should activate your shield.
Yes, it does. Oh, okay. Now, okay, I have to. Well, that might be something that's different with the. I haven't played rearguard on the TRS-80 Model 1 in ages. Maybe I'm wrong, which is rare. I'm not normally always wrong, you know. So.
No, you're perfect.
Computer.
And
Just
Brian
remember,
died again.
Nick, no bugs, Morentis.
That's it. That's me. Okay, yeah.
Freezes.
It is working. So
I wonder if there's a way to pause that I'm not remembering. That Brian's accidentally triggering.
Oh, he unfroze, so there must be.
Yeah, there's got to be a pause button or a pause on the joystick, maybe pushing all the way to the right or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm using the CoCo PS2 adapter for the joysticks and all that. That might be what's causing it.
Yeah, I can't find a pause anywhere.
You're dying regularly now, Mr. Shearing.
Well, I'm not even controlling it.
No, but you're dying nicely.
Yeah.
You got 15 points. You're doing good. You could probably beat Mark Overholzer with that score.
Let me try the other controller.
Or, sorry, Mark Mosley, I meant. He's a champion of low scores.
This would be a good game in double clock. It's a little bit sluggish, but double clock speed on it.
It was the controller.
It does speed up a little bit the higher you get. So.
Oh, now you're shooting things, yeah.
Oh, and I think it's you get to choose between an easy and a hard level, don't you?
Oh yeah, you should specify what level to play the official game challenge on.
Easy.
Okay.
Play easy.
Easy. Yeah, well, that's what I just chose now. I'll play one.
Because once you hit about 5,000 points, it starts getting a lot harder.
And I'm assuming that the people demonstrating on another machine would probably do the same if that option.
Yeah.
Actually, level 2 is faster. It's good. Yeah, it's not a bad version.
Yeah, I really like the mountain thing. Like if you fly down, you actually fly between the mountain ranges. It was one of the first instances of parallax scrolling on the CoCo I'd seen.
Later. The mountains come up later. Is that right?
No, right off the bat you got those, but you don't crash. You can just fly in them and dip down. Like if Brian flies down now, I don't know if you can.
Right, screen 2, yeah. So
on me.
Well, that's screen 2 at least, right? Where Brian's at now.
Yeah, first of the 2 helicopter waves, if I remember.
So you can go between the foreground mountains and the background mountains and actually not splat. Eh?
Yeah, and it actually will show you behind mountains and in front of others, which is kind of cool.
Good.
I don't know if he can steer though, because I haven't seen him move too much. Also, it needs artifacting to look proper, and he's playing it on a black and white RGB style.
Yes, am I. Interesting. The star background is a bit weird looking. It's looks like it's moving on a grid rather than being a star background. Anyway, we'll see that during the Game On challenge.
By the way, Nick, 60's asking in the chat, he said, didn't the static RAM actually hide a bug from you once? Because it doesn't reset unless you power off for like 15 seconds.
There's a few problems there.
Yeah. I just got warned by people that it takes a while for the static RAM to forget, unlike dynamic RAM, so that basically if you don't want a real cold start, leave it off for like 15 seconds, then turn it back on.
Well, there's my score so far.
1110.
And by the way, I just want to point out that Kieran is posting scores while we're having the show going on. So he's not paying attention. He's playing games just like the rest of you people. You're supposed to be paying attention to everything that's going on the show.
I thought we.
Is there a show on? I thought it ended.
Did I miss something?
I thought we deemed that any score that was submitted during the show doesn't count.
Okay, good.
That sounds like work for me to actually look at what time scores are submitted.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother.
That's just Sloopy trying to make more work for me.
Anyway, cool game. The author is Jim Hurd, if I remember correctly, the same guy who did Sea Dragon, and he actually somebody I did get in contact with and actually gave free reign for downloading these. So don't feel guilty if you download a pirated copy of the CoCo version. We have permission from the author.
And it's also on your website as well.
Yeah.
The Apple version says John Anderson.
The TRS-80 version will say
Somebody
TRS-80 will
else.
be Terry and Wayne Westmoreland and Terry Gilman
Yeah, they did a lot of games for the 113.
for the Model 1, yeah.
And Sleepy, do you know who the author of the Atari version was?
No clue.
Geez, everybody else has done all the research on the show already, and you're just sitting there.
Oh well, we will do it all.
Just bugging you.
And with that, I think it's just about time for.
Actually,
I was not informed on what the game was, so there was no way I could do research on it.
No, the rest of us did.
It's not.
I didn't do any research.
It's not my fault you didn't show up for the meeting, Sloopy.
It wasn't my fault that the meeting was told to me in a wrong spot. I think someone's trying to sabotage me.
If you highlight the screen I've got up there, Mark, I've got the actual catalog this first appeared in from Adventure International, and it actually mentions the Atari version is by Neil Larimer, assisted by Sparky Starks. That's a great name.
Sparky.
Sparky Starks, yeah.
And the Apple version is the most expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, isn't everything Apple?
Of
most
course.
expensive?
Right. Doesn't that go with the territory, right?
That's part of their branding.
Hey,
Man.
somebody who spends a couple thousand in the early 80s to buy a computer system should be expected to pay $65 for a game. Or how much is it? I didn't look, but that's what
$30.
$30.
So $30, it's only $5 more.
It's only $5 more than the Model 1 and 3.
Atari 400, 800 tape version's only 20.
Yeah.
But it's also only 16K.
Yeah, but so is the color computer tape version.
True.
Oh, look what's right above rear guard too. You guys might remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
CoCo exclusive. That was only for the CoCo.
That has been on the Game On Challenge.
Firecopter, yeah.
That was a cool one. I like that one. Yeah.
Does the game actually hold the actual scores in its file? Does
it doesn't say.
It's got a built-in list, but the ones that you're showing when you're playing the game are only for the session.
Okay, because I'm Professor Splat.
Well, screenshot it, then you can send it in.
Yeah, so you'll be able to get a screenshot before you turn your computer off, unlike some of the games we've been playing lately where it just insta disappears your score.
Blink.
Right.
Oh yeah, I got no problem. I got screen capture. Hence you can see it. So you got proof.
I've got video of me playing on all the games I play.
The CoCo version looks better than the Atari version in some ways. I'm just looking at the Atari version now.
Like just screenshots or the actual gameplay?
No, just a video. Yeah, the gameplay. So yeah, the CoCo is a good challenger for this one.
So
I would be willing to bet the Atari sound is probably a bit better than the CoCo.
It is actually. The sound is quite good actually, yeah.
Sloopy, if you find the Atari version, send it to me.
The Atari version doesn't have parallax scrolling. For starters. And the shapes are all single color.
Must be using the I was going to say sprites, but some people are offended by that word. Player missile graphics, is that the right term?
The pixies. The pixies.
I'm not using that. I'm not using that.
Player missile graphics is only on the Atari.
That's what that's what I was asking. That's what they call the equivalent.
I'm going to look at the Apple version now.
I'm looking at a later catalog. Actually, maybe I'll share this too. A later catalog from International, but a year later, apparently there's a C64 version as well we can try.
Oh, okay. There you go, Ken. You can do the C64 version.
Okay. if I can find
Ironically,
it.
on the top part, it still says just the Apple, Atari, CoCo, and Tier City, but you can see Commodore 64 tape and disc down here. So that must have been just announced at the time of this because they don't have the author for the. Oh no, yeah, I guess they do. Com 64 version by Kanai, same guy that did the CoCo version.
Apple version doesn't look too bad. It doesn't have the parallax either. So far, it's only the TRS-80 Model 1 and the CoCo version that's got parallax.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the C64 version looks like because that was a later machine than all the rest, and also a later version of the game.
I will look it up.
What have you started, Ken, picking this one?
I think we've started. I think we've started the Game On challenge already.
I do like this idea of comparing. Like Ken, that was kind of inspired by your videos because you've done some of these comparison videos between two versions, like Grabber.
I was actually planning on doing. The reason I chose this is because I was in the middle of working on a video of comparing this one.
Okay, well now you know all the versions there because there's a few extras I don't think you might have known about.
I was actually just going to compare two versions, but now I'm thinking I should compare all the versions.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and you can actually do it professionally on your video, and then we'll just kind of like yammer about it on the live part.
Oh yeah, professionally.
There you go.
All right. Are we ready for some news?
How about a commercial break first?
Yes, we'll have to do that. Commercial break and then Game On news.
Yeah, I think I'll do the announcements of upcoming conventions and stuff first, and then I'll go in the Game On news. But yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. We're watching the CoCo Nation Show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
Hello everyone, it's your good buddy, your good pal Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCo Nation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCo Nation Show would like to thank the following patrons: Alex Gare, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Kieran Anscombe, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Glenn Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, John Bodovkarshaller, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Kevin Holloway, Mike Rayburn, Patrick Euland, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Batson, Terry Steege, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., Tony C., and William Athing. Thank you so much, patrons.
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
He Noodle says, so, in that order. Tristan. Over 30 different systems from Model 3 to Model 100 to CoCos to next to Mac Classic 2 and so on. I play old games, BBS, and try to interconnect all that old junk. Current CoCo setup is a CoCo 3, 512K Triad, CoCo SDC, CM monitor, switcheroo with HDMI. Zach S says, hi, I'm Zach, and I accidentally misclicked here thinking it was related to the CoPro Nation, the 80387 enthusiasts group. But I'm thinking of staying because I know a guy who is really into these CoCos and I also quite enjoy general nerdiness and retro computing, although most of my familiarity is on the IBM PC side of things. The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Alex Gayer, Boysen, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, and the CoCo Nation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
Okay, welcome. Welcome to the game news first, though I'm actually going to cover some of the upcoming shows first coming up. Some are game related, some are not, so it kind of fits in. And this time I actually got screen shares to show. So first up, next weekend is Tandy Assembly in Springfield, Ohio. I heard on their Discord, I think they sold the last table as of yesterday, so they now have full cast of tables. They're actually doing a trash talk show tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, 5 p.m. Eastern on their TRS City Trash Talkers YouTube channel, and they will be discussing Tandy Assembly. They'll be going through what vendors are going to be there, what seminars they're going to have, and just general information about the show. Hopefully they'll be monitoring the chat in case anybody has any questions. So you can see here the tandyassembly.com, which has all the details, costs, etc. And then the trash talk is youtube.com/@TRS80 Trash Talk. All one word with capital T's throughout, and TRS80 is in capitals as well. So there'll be a live stream there. You probably have to click on the live link unless you catch it as it goes. So that starts at 5 p.m. Eastern, which I think is what, an hour, just over an hour from now?
Now we're coming up on yeah,
4?
we're coming up at 4 o'clock Eastern now.
Okay, so just over an hour. Next up, we have SDF Public Access. Well, I guess that's Interim Computer Festival. Sorry, I was reading their top part there. This is in Seattle, Washington. That is on the same weekend. So if you're on the West Coast, you can head over to that one. They got the schedule on their website here. Their website is sdf.org/ICF to take a look at for this specifically for the festival itself. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. both days. And looks to be I don't see any seminars or anything too much here.
They have some speakers. They said that they had like 3 or 4 that were talking.
Yeah, and they have the lanyard colors saying black is exhibitors, demo, and speakers, but they don't have anything on the schedule. It looks like a speaker event.
Or anything.
Plus, it's just down through this little bit here.
Yeah, these are the various people that have posted something there. Mine's in there towards the bottom, I think. So.
Now, Mark, is that something you think you're going to be able to broadcast from a little bit to kind of show us what the show's like?
Know. Yeah, it shouldn't be too big. Actually, there's a link on the site there where it shows the Commodore show they had back in June. So if you want to see what the venue looks like inside with a whole bunch of Commodores, you can click on that. Scroll back.
Yeah, I think we'd rather have you talk about it.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I was just curious what it looked like inside. It's kind of a long, narrow room, but they said they had room for 30-some tables. So, and currently there's only about 13 people that say they want a table or two. So.
Okay. Yeah, because we need to get a live report. Like, hopefully we'll get somebody from Tandy Assembly to pop on too, because it's the same weekend. So I'm hoping we can just bounce, even if it's just 5-10 minutes, just to say hi to everybody, kind of get a feel for like who all's there. Next up, this was actually suggested by James Diffendaffer, I think just this morning. So apparently on the same weekend, so a third show on next weekend, is the 2023 Ultimate Colorado Pinball and Gamer Festival Experience in Denver. And this is all 3 days it's on. And this is basically, there's a lot of high score challenges and stuff like that. And it's a lot of the old style pinball machines and classic arcade games. Players get to play for free with admission. Not technically CoCo, but a lot of us were pinball and arcade game enthusiasts back in the day too. So that is something that does have a bit of crossover. I don't know if they'll be doing much with home computers or consoles, if at all. I was hoping James was actually going to be on the call or in the chat to kind of give me more specifics on it, because I didn't get a chance to really look at it all that closely. But if you're in the Denver, Colorado area and you want some retro gaming goodness, definitely go check that out.
And they use the 6809 too.
Yeah, I mean, the Williams games for sure do. A lot of this pinball machines do as well. So a bit of a tie in there, I guess. Now, I did notice the pricing is a bit high from what we're used to. $45 a day, but that's to play all the original hardware all day, basically. So it's like going to Galloping Ghost and getting a pass for the whole thing. And does Galloping Ghost charge separately for pinball versus video games? I can't remember. Or is it one flat rate for both?
Somebody
Mr.
charged
Sherbring, do you
more
remember?
recently.
I've never been there.
Who was that? I know somebody recently charged more, but I don't remember who it was.
Yeah. Brian Sherbring, if you're still there, I know you've been to it.
Which place?
Galloping Ghost?
Actually, I haven't been.
Well, I thought we went there after Fudd Records at one time.
People did go, but not everybody. I can't recall if I did or didn't, but I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I seem to recall someone stating that they had separated the pinball to a different building now, and it was. But I'm not
And it
sure.
was a separate charge, I think, or a different pass to get in. I think I heard that too. That's kind of what I'm remembering.
But I haven't been there since that change.
Like I know Amigos and a few others went there this last CoCo Fest. They went on Saturday night, and they definitely chose right because they didn't have to hear me play guitar all darn night. So probably saved their sanity if anything. And then next up, the weekend after that, if you happen to be in the UK at the Center for Computing History in Cambridge, October 7th and 8th, that's when the big Dragon meetup for the year is happening, which I think Sixie had mentioned last week. He's going to be trying to make it there. Franklin Ayers, Retro Rewind says, yeah, we went during CoCo Fest. It is a different building, about 2 miles down the road. Okay. I don't think I've been to it since it's been separated like that. But anyway, if you're in the UK and you want to meet a bunch of the Dragon people, they'll have some of the Dragon betas and stuff. I'm sure some of the people that are doing vending and recreating the Dragon 32 and 64 motherboards, which 60 is one of them. Hopefully they'll have their prototypes down there and stuff there to show you what the new versions of them are. And of course, there's the Super Sprite board and a bunch of other things might be there as well. So hopefully there'll be a lot. There's also usually some other machines there besides just Dragons too. So if you want to catch in some general stuff, and generally the Center for Computing History is just a great museum to go through. Period. So you got that to go as well. And 60 is saying yes, unless COVID or something happens, he will be there. And the last one we're mentioning today, October 13th to 15th, so the week after that, is the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. This is one I think, Mark, you mentioned Tim and AJ are going to, or at least Tim.
Yeah, I assume I've heard they're both going to that. So they don't have a table this year like last year, but they plan to both go at least one of the days.
Yeah, we got some live coverage from them last year because they were doing their live sibling rivalry show from there and playing against other people at the show. And are you going to that one, Mark? I spaced if you are or not.
Haven't planned on at the moment, but I'll see if I can. It's a couple of weeks after the one I'm doing in Seattle. So, and actually Portland's between Seattle and me. So, it's like going up north again, but only an hour and a half instead of 4 hours.
I know from the driving distances that Ken and I are used to, that just sounds like, pittance.
I understand.
Well, maybe Marco can take the scenic route via West Virginia next time.
Yeah, I add a few thousand kilometers to my trip.
Yeah. Oh, well, Ken and me, I think West Virginia was about 28, 29 hours? Something like that. So that's the ones we'll cover for now. We'll start adding some more in as we get further in, but I don't want to, give some of these shows to like way, way, way ahead of time, like a year or something like that, because there's so many other shows coming out, VCFs, et cetera, that we'd spend half the show just reciting shows. So I'm going to try to keep it like a sliding window of a few months so that people can.
The whole show.
To get overloaded.
Right.
As well. Have like a 3-month window or whatever. So I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to give people some warning. So if they do want to book time off and book planes and hotels and stuff, they have time to do so. But telling you something that's happening in a year and a half doesn't really help much, I don't think. So that's it for this time around on what shows are coming up that people might be interested in going to. So let's switch over to the Game On news itself. So I find the right window. Okay, first up, Tier City Retro Programming, who's been working on a few different CoCo games in BASIC. It's got an update on Tales of Suburbia. Now, he's designed this to be based on tape loading because that's what he grew up with. I'm trying to encourage him to use disc because I don't think too many people use tapes anymore, at least on the CoCo in North America, maybe more so in Europe because it's more what they're used to. But this game, the way it's set up, is definitely would lend itself to being on one single disc, and it just jumps between the programs quick rather than rewind to 42 on your tape counter and load in the next part type thing. I think also he's added a music option. We've played the videos before. He's had these little musical bits that last 10 seconds between each screen, and that does get redundant if you're trying to solve an adventure game to have to hear that every time you switch rooms. So he's going to have it as an option where you can kind of hear it once and not hear it again type thing. But the game's getting pretty close to release. It's going to be, I think he said 3 or 4 parts. I'll let you guys watch the video there, but it kind of goes through that. And he's trying to figure out some things to, continue working on. He's working on an Ultima style game too, but he's looking for some ideas. And I think I'm finally starting to get him convinced to try the CoCo 3 because I think he would have a lot more fun with all the different colors and the palette animations and stuff that you can do on there. Plus, he really hates trying to list stuff on a 32-column screen because it whips by so fast it can't find the right line number to look for problems. Well, CoCo 3's got 80 column. That'll slow you down. Plus, it's 24 lines instead of 16. So that I think it would help him a lot. Next up, Jim Gary put in a game called Third World War. This is a backport from the Metra Alice, the French version of the CoCo or the MC10 that he ported back to the original MC10. And it was originally by Free Game Blot in 1985. And it's kind of a simulation style game here. You can kind of see it's got a grid on the bottom here with different, I'm assuming I didn't get a chance to play it or anything, so I don't know too much about it. On the top, it's reading like allies 3, enemies 1, scout, and C5, nothing to report. So it's a bit of a grid, almost like a battleship type thing, and it's got a couple things marked in there, which I'm assuming is the player itself and not the computer, and you kind of have to search around, find enemies and stuff. So I don't know too much about it. I never saw the original on the Metra Alice, but another game port by Jim Gary for the MC10, which he's actually slowed down the last little while. I'm sure he was getting ready for school and stuff here because he works at a university, so he's probably been a bit busy. Next up, Retro Gaming Nook on YouTube did a long play video for Septani based on Imagic's Dragonfire. And as he puts it, on an original Tandy, Color Computer won in all of its RF glory. And this is because he tried playing it on the CoCo 3. Now, I think Sockmaster, somebody has done a patch to get Dragonfire to work properly in a CoCo 3, but because of the tight timing things to mix the screen color sets on the same scan lines, the timing on the gimme is a little bit different than the original VDG SAM. So that doesn't work properly. And he's also having problems where if you're in the second room where you've got the interior of the castle and you got a dragon throwing fireballs at you, you're supposed to grab all the treasures, that half the stuff on the screen would disappear. So you wouldn't even know where to go to pick stuff up. So you couldn't get off the damn screen. So he was having some problems with that. So he switched back to CoCo 1, and he does have some, let's say, quality issues on his RF. I'll play a little bit of the actual gameplay.
Whoa, that did different. It sent out a low one.
So the high one first?
So it's a little bit blown out. He said it looked better on the actual screen rather than as captured software. This looks a little bit more blown on the capture.
Might be better with the other joystick. I'm using the self-centering one.
But for those of you who have not seen this game or played it before, this is a bit of a technical marvel on the CoCo 1 and 2, and especially for a game that was sold by Tandy. So if you guys know about the CoCo 1 P Mode 3 graphics, you got 2 color sets. You've got one that has green, yellow, blue, red, and you have a second one, Nick Meridy's favorite, that has white, cyan, magenta, and orange. Right, Nick?
Yeah, right.
The Puyan palette, as we call it.
Yep.
But normally you like I've seen some games and stuff have used a trick where they've done 10, 20, 50 scan lines down, they'll switch the color set. So the top part uses one, say a score area, uses one set of colors. And then lower on has, the different set of colors, or even switching between text and graphics modes. Like a good example of that is Musica. Musica 2 would put text stuff on the top of the screen, I think it was, and then the graphics, the musical staffs and stuff in P Mode 4 on the bottom. So you can actually just switch the mode it's in partway down. Well, this went a heck of a lot further than that. What it does here is it actually changes the color set multiple times per every scan line. So we're talking precision timing because you only have 57 CPU cycles per scan line. But you'll see, and I'll just, you guys can see my mouse cursor on the screen here?
Yeah.
You can see here, we're doing the cyan white to do the castle. Then it switches to the blue, red here, and then switches back to the white. But if you look down here, we're using this color set 1 with the blue, cyan and the white, switches to the green, switches back to cyan and white, switches back to the green, switches back to cyan and white. So it's changing the color set 5 times per scan line here. And that takes some incredible precision programming to get that to work and not tear and go all over the place. And in fact, if you try on the CoCo 3, it does tear and go over the place because the timing is just a little bit different, which is why they had to patch it. I also believe there had to be a patch for the Dragon. This is a game that Tandy did not sell for the Dragon. Most of the carts they did sell in North America, they did sell. Now, Nick, did they ever sell this in Australia? Because my understanding was they didn't want to bother converting it from NTSC to PAL with this kind of timing.
No, I didn't see it.
Okay. Because somebody did patch it for the Dragon. That one is available, I believe, on the Dragon Archive 60. Can correct me if I'm wrong. He might even been involved with doing the patch. I'm not sure. But they did manage to fix it for 50 hertz, which would be even more tight timing. Actually, no, I guess not. The horizontal sync would have been the same. It's still 15.75. It's a vertical. It's different. But yeah, this is a bit of a programming feat. The game itself, pretty simplistic. But honestly, when you're having to switch color sets that often, like literally 5 times within 57 CPU cycles, you don't really have time to do much else. So I think most of the AI and stuff would have. What's that?
Definitely gives you a lot more colors, which would be very appealing. And especially if it isn't intense activity, then it's a good trade-off.
I am guessing that this bottom part here, after the bottom of the water and the moat's gone, this entire last part is just color set 1 instead of 0. So I'm sure most of the AI and everything else would have been done during this part of the scan and then on the VSync refresh. Because from here down to here is just constant changing color sets. So I'm guessing that all the graphic movement, sound, AI, and everything else is done between that and
in the bottom,
swing back, on the VSync. So that's a programming marvel. I was very impressed when I saw that.
No, it was a impressive, crappy game, but it's an impressive feat to get the colors.
Yeah, and as Mark said, it does look more impressive. Like it's a bit blown out here. It does look better on a non-blown out screen. But having all 8 colors at once did make it look a lot better visually. The game itself does have some challenges. You start getting opening bars on your platform. You've got a hand lobbing fireballs at you from the top of the left part of the castle. The fireballs that are getting thrown out the doors, start speeding up individually or in pairs. So it does go pretty good with challenges as you get further into the game. But yeah, it's pretty simplistic otherwise. It's basically just dodge stuff, run through a door, and then gather treasure and run through a door. That's the entire game. So you could check out the full video there. He actually shows a little bit, I think, on the CoCo 3 where they tried it and it just doesn't work properly. I knew Nick would like this one.
Oh, yeah. There's a game.
Now, this is by Attempts, a gaming channel by LGR. Now, I'm assuming, is this the same LGR that's like one of the top retro YouTubers? Ken, do you know?
No, it's just LR, not LGR.
Oh, is it? I let's type that wrong. So this is a 12-minute video gameplay of Nick's Donut Dilemmas you can see on the screen here. And this is an attempt to actually get an official entry for high scores on multiple high score websites, including Twin Galaxies, which is probably the most famous of the batch. I didn't even know that CoCo games are on these high score sites, so maybe we should be throwing some of our Game On Challenges ones over there. I don't know. But had you heard about this, Nick, that there's an official...
No idea of that one.
Okay. So in this particular game, as you can see on his title, he made it score 14,720 up to floor number 9. And of course, in these, you can't cheat and everything else. You just have to play it straight through. So that was his one playthrough here, and he made it. Now, the CoCo version has 10 levels or 11?
10. And
the Model 1.3 had 9, right?
9, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had a single-digit counter for the levels.
Now, I know you made a version of
expanded
Donut Dilemma for the Maximite, along with a Pac-Man game, which Buck Owens has been playing because he just got a Maximite.
He got the latest Maximite, yeah.
Now, I didn't include that in the news because it's not strictly CoCo, but did you want to talk about the Maximite a little bit, just so people know what it is if they have one?
It's been through a few revisions. It started off as a black and white kit computer that runs a version of BASIC, and it uses a PIC 32 microcontroller, but it ran fairly fast. So I wrote the Pac-Man game for the original Maximite in BASIC, and it's a Pac-Man. And then later on there was the color Maximite came out, which was color, 8 colors, and I wrote Donut Dilemma in BASIC, and it looks pretty good. But since then they have done a new version of the color Maximite 2 or whatever, and they've upgraded the BASIC, and apparently my programs are not compatible now anymore on the new Maximite. So I don't know what differences they've done, but it's again an even more powerful version of the Maximite. There's actual arcade quality games that run on it, I think largely from BASIC. So it is pretty impressive, but I don't know how big the market is for it. It's because
this was actually an Australian design machine too, wasn't it?
It's an Australian designed and made kit computer. So, but yeah, I did a Pac-Man and I don't know if you've got the link to my Maximite. You can always show what an 8-color Donut Dilemma looks like.
I don't have it handy, but if you want to fire it up in the background, we can segue to you before I go on to the...
Okay.
I did want to ask you one question. Like you made these 2 games in BASIC for both versions of the Maximite. Did that actually have hardware sprite support? Like I know it's a PIC, but did it have simulated sprite support, or did you have to actually do your own masking and all that kind of stuff?
It was well, the hardware didn't, but the software, the basic interpreter created software sprites. So from BASIC you could create sprites. I think it's been a while since I've used it, but just trying to find the Maximite site. Oh, I found it. Well, we might be able to switch over soon then.
Okay, well, I've got one other Aussie related story here, and then I'll let you do it. Your show off.
Yeah, I have.
Just one quick question for Nick though. Is there any coincidence between Maximite and Vegemite? Is that just
none? No, one tastes terrible. The other
I can say one
right.
difference is I would rather eat the circuit board of a Maximite than to eat Vegemite.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to deviate, but
next up, fellow Aussie Brian Palmer, who's been typing in some basic games from several of the CoCo related Australian magazines: Australian Rainbow, Australian CoCo, Soft Gold. This one in particular is from Soft Gold. So this is World Weightlifting. Now, this is one that Brian actually had the magazine, went to go type it in, then found out that rats had chewed through, or mice had chewed through it, part of the page, the second page of the game, so he couldn't finish typing it in. So he implored people, does anybody have this copy of Soft Gold? Because it was not on the archive. And I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Rachel Tony Hobart did actually have that issue with an intact version of page 16, sent it to Brian, and Brian's been typing it in. He has not uploaded it to Facebook, and I haven't seen it on the archive yet, so I'm guessing he's still doing some play testing, because when you type in a basic program, bound to be a few errors here, typed in a 0 instead of an O, or a D instead of an O for a variable name, and you have to play a fair bit of it to find out that one little thing was wrong. But he's got some shots here you can see on the screen of the title screen and stuff here, which is basically a weightlifting game done in P-Mode 4 graphics. The one thing I found interesting here is that this second screenshot, now you have to excuse, Brian's using a really, really old version of MAME that didn't do the pixel ratio right. So it actually would stretch it twice as wide as it's supposed to. So it's like watching a narrow program on a widescreen TV, except even worse. But you'll notice here that the WWL logo for World Weightlifting actually has a blue artifacted background, which that would not have worked on a PAL CoCo. That would have been just white stripes and made this WWL almost impossible to read. So I'm kind of surprised that was in an Australian magazine, to be honest. Anyway, the original version was done by a Duncan Fenn, who was only 14 years old at the time he wrote it. And I don't remember specifically what issue it was, but expect that one to be showing up either on Facebook as a disk image and or on the Color Computer Archive shortly after the testing is done. If you want to try a game that we never saw in North America or in Europe, probably either. And then I will let Nick talk about the Maximite stuff he's done.
Well, let's see if it works. If it doesn't doesn't play very well, we won't worry about it, but I've got it there. And I'll go full screen. Is that coming across?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, I'll hit play. So this is written in BASIC, and this is just on YouTube, a video of it. As you can see, Donut Dilemma, similar style. I've got the title page where it bounces the donuts everywhere. The character is just a rip-off of Mario. The sound effects, it plays Amiga mod files. So they're
digitized samples, basically.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what's making the sound. You can see a slight flicker. I don't know if it's coming through on the
donuts, yeah.
Zoom. So so they're not hardware sprites, but all the sprite routines are being implemented by the BASIC itself. So it has sprite commands, which actually because the author or the developer is in Australia, I remember sending him notes saying, here's an idea for sprites and here's an idea for a blitter and a few other ideas, and I gave him the syntax to try use, and he did. He implemented it. So I'm responsible, I guess, for the sprite commands for the version back
have they
then.
changed now in that new version you were talking about, or are they just incompatible?
May have changed. So and that may be why the game doesn't work anymore. But on the original one, it was me who suggested the sprite commands, and there's a blitter command and a few other things in there.
Yeah, it looks actually pretty good. That's 8 colors you said at once?
8 colors, yeah. Same levels as on the CoCo. It was the same game, but it was all done in BASIC.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, Buck Owens actually has a Maximite 2 now, I think, the new one, Color Maximite 2.
Yeah, he's got the new one, and I don't know how he got to play it if it doesn't work on that. I do have one of the new Maximites. I just haven't had a chance to actually try it. I've been too busy
making money
with CoCo, and buying Ferraris.
So for those who didn't know that Nick did some programming besides the Tier City Model 1.3 and the CoCo, as far as the games field goes, here you go. And there was 2 games you made. You made a black and white Pac-Man game for the original Maximite plus the 8-color Donut Dilemma.
I do have that here somewhere too. If you want to wait a sec, I'll see if I can go back to it. Maybe not.
You need to keep looking for a bit, or?
No, I think I found it. Now that's the Donut Dilemma. Where's my Pac-Man or Max-Man, I called it. If it's going to work, here it goes. So, Pac-Man in BASIC.
Pretty high res.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you remember what the resolution was?
Under 400 horizontally, 300. It had some weird res because the graphics was all done in the interpreter as well. All you had, the only chip really on the board, on the computer, was a microcontroller. There was no video chip. The microcontroller via software created the video and the sound and everything. This picture looks over zoomed. Anyway, rather than try to be show how stupid I am, I won't.
And this doesn't sound like mod files this time. Is this just built-in sound routines?
Yeah. The very first one didn't have the mod files. It just had basically like a sound command. Or
Scott Cooper, Tasman suggested you should have called it Vegemite Man.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, I thought I'd just put together a quick video about my
see how to stop this thing.
Okay.
Okay.
There, a bit of Nick gaming history.
Well, actually, if you want to wait, since you caught me on that, I'll stop the share. There we go. We're back to normal.
Okay, so on to the regular news. So let me share that.
No intro today.
If you must.
Yeah, we want to see the hair.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins. No matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world to your nation. The CoCo Nation News with L. Curtis Boyle.
Hey, so first up, we've got Alan. This is part of all the Septandy stuff. Alan of AC's 8-Bit Zone put out a video about building a mechanical keyboard for the CoCo from scratch. Now, we've got mechanical keyboards available. We've got both. Rick Ewan has got the replacement for the Mylar. If that gets too worn, you can replace it with real switches, etc. But you still get to use your CoCo keys. We've got Ed Snyder has his complete replacement where he laser etches the keys himself. You can pick any color pattern combo you want and even custom make keys. I know he's famous for putting, I think, a Battlestar Galactica Cylon is one of them on the break key, if I remember correctly. What Alan has done here is he's actually ordered keys from other, a generic keyboard manufacturer. Then he actually goes through and shows how to make the entire thing basically from scratch if you want to custom make your own. He also goes and now we 3D printed this here to hold the keys, and he's actually put in a jigsaw blade to strengthen it in between two of the folds. So you put the jigsaw blade in there and it hardens it, and he's testing it with a 10 pounds of weight on it to make sure it's not going to like bend and bust on you, which means even kids can like bang on the keyboard and they won't die. So he goes into a fair bit of detail on it here. And here's a set of keys he bought. And he goes through and picks the ones. Now, unlike Rick's using the original keys you already have, which obviously are designed for the CoCo in the first place, and then Ed, of course, custom laser etches the keys so they match with the CoCo. There's a few here that are a little bit wonky because you're getting some generic set, meant more for PCs. But it actually works pretty good. And if you're a person that has a 3D printer and skill, which I don't, this might be an option for you to get a mechanical keyboard for, probably about as cheap as you can get one for a brand new one right from scratch. So cool video. Thanks, Alan. And I won't play it here because it's almost half an hour long, but go check it out. Next up, Dave Erie. I don't know if he's still in the chat or not, but he's been showing some using software sprites on the CoCo 3. And he's also been doing a little bit with page flipping, which is what this particular video is. He's actually got another video he's in the works of doing because a lot of people were requesting, because he mentioned that his sprite routine does handle going in front and behind objects on the screen. The demos he's done so far have been on a black background, which you can kind of cheat and do that in basic, pretty well on its own. Probably not quite as fast than his ML routines, but this one here is basically just page flipping. And he threw some background music into it, which is not part of the actual demo, I don't believe. But basically, this is like a 16 color screen with about 4 or 5 animation frames. It's just page flipping through 32K screens. And you can vary the speed. Anyway, we've used this technique on Nitrous 9 a fair bit because you can create up to 16 or even 32 if you set up a custom boot file of device windows. So you can actually have 32 screens you're page flipping between if you really wanted to. Good for demos. Probably not quite as useful having that many screens page flip for an actual game, unless you like write a huge game you want to have to like redraw the screen every time you just want to flip to a different screen to take over. So it might be good for something like that, like maybe an adventure game, etc. But he's working on another demo that hopefully will be coming out the next week or so that does show his sprite routines that we showed last week going in front of and behind objects without destroying them as it's drawing it. So look forward to that. Hopefully we'll get in before the end of September. CoCo Town had a couple videos this week. So we've been monitoring his Moon Patrol Resurrection, which is a game he tried writing as a teenager and never finished because he just didn't quite have the skill to pull everything off. We came pretty darn close. Now, the first video we released this week was a bit of a side jaunt. And he goes, can I dial up my CoCo into BBS at 300 baud in 2023? Because he still has his 300 baud modem. It's actually a phone modem. So it's actually a phone with the keys and everything on it for dialing the phone, combined with a little 300 baud modem built in. And some people are still running, like a lot of people are running BBSs on Telnet, so you can hit it from a modern browser Telnet client. But there are a few that still let you actually dial up as well. So he was trying out a few of them. And he's using Mikey Termin, an older version. I sent him a comment because the version of Mikey Termin got that he's using, I think, is 4.0. Now, he discovered recently he has a Tandy T1 VDG CoCo 2 and has had it the whole time with true lowercase. And Mike Ward actually did version 4.7, supports that chip. So he actually can log in with full lowercase on it, which he hadn't tried yet. But he tried a couple BBSs and one 300 baud was so slow the thing thought he had timed out, so it just kicked him off before he actually got to get fully logged in, etc. But he did manage to get onto a board. And for those of you who have done the BBSing thing way back in the 80s here, this should bring back great memories of 300 baud. So I'll just play a little clip here.
I don't want to make an account. I just want to be a guest.
But I ran my BBS 300 baud from February of 83 till I think the CoCo 3 is when I bumped up to 1200.
The one time it was actually useful, Commodore
It's at least receiving my
CompuServe charged much less for 300 baud. So for live chat, you would use that speed and save money.
Yeah, and you didn't on chat. Basically, it's as fast as people could type, which wasn't usually too much faster than 300 baud anyway.
Right, and it costs a lot less.
And they can't keep it up. So even if you do get behind, just a few seconds, and then you get all of it. So
yeah, but it's funny because he hit about 4 or 5 different BBSs here. Most required or wanted 1200 baud or higher, or timed out because they were set for a 1200 baud or higher. But they were asking what's your screen width, 40 or 80? And he goes, I have 32. What can I do here? So it shows how much the BBSing scene had changed even back then because people were running these old BBSs from the late 80s and the 32 column just wasn't supported. I think the VIC-20 had, what was its character width?
22?
Yeah. So a lot of that isn't there anymore either. You need at least 40, which for the CoCo 3 people, that wasn't a big deal. We ran at 80 column all the time, but I wanted to show you his modem too because this is one I'd not seen very often back in the day.
And then it's going there at 300 baud.
Sweet.
Are there numbers you can?
But you can see here, it's actually called the modem phone. It was a manual, not an auto dial. So you actually had to originate and answer. You had to set those, with this little switch at the top, and then you had to dial the thing manually, which he actually goes through and demonstrates on each of these. So you dial some long distance number to try to connect to a BBS with a real modem on it.
And then switch over. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It brought back, you can tell the old timers here because a lot of people are having memory flashbacks right now.
Actually, because an Apple guy didn't bother to start this low, I actually got a US Robotics, what they called their password, which was 300, 1200 with AT commands. So, but I knew people had
that must have been mid later because the original Hayes smart modem was a 300 baud only. That's what a lot of the people I knew had.
Right.
Yeah. This was 85, I think, or 86 when I got that. So
yeah, this would have been 82, 83.
I knew people had styles like this. So
yeah. I originally had the acoustic coupler from Radio Shack. And then I switched to the JCat, Novation JCat, the little tiny 300 baud auto answer. That's what I actually ran my BBS on for a while.
Cool.
That was such, fascinating. You can actually tell it to dial. Like you hook up a little thing and do the click, click, click. It wouldn't even do tone dialing. It would do the, basically simulating the hand.
Pulse styling.
Hanging up. Yeah, pulse styling.
I actually ran a modem pack as a modem pack for a little while. So
yeah, the 300 baud built in.
Yeah, so that dates me quite a bit.
What's amazing is he actually still has a POTS line.
Exactly.
Because those are being phased out across the country. So won't be too long. There won't be any more dial tone.
Except at VCF.
Yeah.
Because they bring in the whole, what is it called? PBX system or whatever it's called?
Yeah, PBX.
Right.
The whole phone system is there. Ken, you were at VCF and Sleepy, you were at VCF. Did you guys take a look at that booth?
Briefly.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, good.
I briefly looked at it, but yeah, I was just a little too busy to look too in depth at it.
Okay.
And are they getting rid of the phone lines in Canada too? Because there's a lot of places where we don't have cell phone coverage, and people still have all landlines. So
yeah, well, there's still people with fax too.
Well, but even the landlines now are digital. I mean, my AT&T setup, the phone from the phone company is a digital appendage. Yeah, it's even if it comes on copper, it's digital. So
yeah, it's the analog ones that are that the FCC has decided to let the phone companies get rid of. It's happening already in like California. Yeah.
Although in general noodling, I've been able to put the older, slower, like 300 baud, 1200 baud modems on this thing, and they do, quote, work. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's quite a bit in the chat here too. Like Phantom 8-Bit says, my first modem was an Avitex 1200. That was my third. That was the one I upgraded from the JCat, which was somewhat Hayes compatible. Didn't have the full Hayes set, just enough to get by. Which I actually ran as my CoCo 3 BBS for a bit too. And I got a Zoom 2400, and then I went to a 14.4 and a 28.8, 33.6, 57.6. Phantom 8-Bit also says I still have my 14.4 and 33.6K modems. Mark Siegel said I had a 2400 baud modem in 82. Can't remember the brand. That would have been friggin' expensive in 82. Because I'm trying to remember the original Hayes 300 smart modem was like $700-800 I think when it first came out. It was hugely expensive.
Yeah, it was hugely expensive.
That was Apple prices. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it was.
I had a Practical Peripherals 2400.
I remember seeing those. I didn't have one of those.
It's in the closet somewhere. I never throw anything away.
60 says but I never personally ever used a modem for IP. My first home connectivity was a work supplied ISDN line. That was the 128K.
Nice. Yeah. 264K
yeah,
channels.
264s. Yeah.
Yeah, we had that at work briefly before we actually got.
And fun fact, buddy at work on our ISDN times accidentally set his router to automatically reconnect every 2 minutes. And every time you make an ISDN call, it's a toll. He got a pretty bad phone bill that month to churn in.
Oh, I had bad, like I didn't realize most of these BBSs, especially at the very beginning when I got it, were long distance. So I was calling in the middle of the day. This is back when, you had a 65% discount between midnight and 8 in the morning and a 35% discount between 6 p.m. and midnight. And I was calling right after I got home from school and sitting on there for like 2 hours.
All right.
And you get like a phone bill, my parents bring in. Why do we have a $600 phone bill?
If we knew what his parents said, we'd know his full name, wouldn't we?
Franklin Harris of Retro Rewind said we have to switch to VoIP in Canada by 2025. It will still be over copper, but will be G729. I'm not familiar with G729, but and Mark Siegel said he was using a lot of CompuServe back end. He was actually active on the CoCo forums and stuff. The OS9 forum, that was the main meeting. And the level 2 version 3 upgrade, all of that was done over CompuServe. So yeah, and Mark was directly involved with that as well. Yeah, I kind of miss the old BBS days, honestly. I mean, obviously we can do this type of stuff where you can zoom in, have video calls with live video streams from all over the world type thing. So it's not quite like that, but simplicity of doing the same type of thing with text. Talking to a sysop at 3 a.m, and he's in Halifax or something like that. Type thing. It was a lot of fun.
Hey,
we didn't need the big companies to go through. It was just a phone call.
We were doing social media before it was a thing.
Right? Yeah, CB chat on CompuServe was another popular one. Sysop chat, leaving messages back and forth on the BBS systems. I know somebody was trying to get a CoCo BBS system they wanted to show at VCF, but I was trying to find my old copy of my old Mustang BBS that I wrote. And I found a corrupted copy of it, so I'm still looking to see, because I'll have to throw it in the archive in case somebody wants something that's kind of already set up to run the Bitbanger on a CoCo 3 at 1200 baud. It should work. Had some online games and stuff too. And then he did Game Resurrection Part 6. Now, this is the final part of the Game Resurrection series that pertains to his original code as a teenager, which he's been kind of reassembling, figuring out what discs have the newest versions, whatever. This particular part covers explosions and scoring. and he found a little few glitches. Now, he did mention at the end of the video that this is not the final episode. He's actually going to see if he can fix some of these things up today. Now, I don't know if he is planning on going through with like completing the entire game, or if he just wants to like fix up some things that he just couldn't solve back then, and then we'll be done with it. But I'll play just a little bit here so you can kind of see explosions.
Blowing it up here. So there's kind of a center to the blow up, and we do some kind of random colors in this kaleidoscope pattern. So I'm going to continue with that. And we continue, and it sort of expands out till it encompasses the rectangle. And then we enter this phase where from the center we start erasing the debris. And luckily everything is just right over green. So we can just like erase it all out. Oh, it looks like we just blew up again because the shooting kept happening. That would be another bug. So I apparently blew up the enemy twice. So there we go, and it's erasing it again. Let's see if I can blow it up a third time. Yep, okay. Guess we'll add that to the list of things that I might or might not fix. Let's talk.
And he goes through the actual code. That's the kind of things I think anybody who's developed games hits that kind of thing where you just something stupid. Like it keeps just reblowing up and reblowing up.
I don't have any bugs.
Except your memory apparently has gaping holes, but
he has a wide lexicon.
I do want to catch up on some chat things here because there's been a few people responding even to stories that were quite a bit earlier. So Frank said that G729 is a VoIP codec. 60 said, oh, that's why my friend was dialing American BBSs via satellite because of the things you could do with the call routing here. Buck Owen says, going back an hour, Twin Galaxies has high score tracks for around 20 CoCo games. Did not know that. That Donut Dilemma was likely Luigi Ruffalo, a prolific high score guy. I did beat his Donut Dilemma score, though, with a big smiley face. Steve Rasmussen says, I did assemble a Color Maximite 1 just to play Donut Dilemma. So that's how he solved the problem. He didn't use the Color Maximite 2.
Oh, right. Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. The
Brino,
Maximite 1 was different. Yeah.
Okay. Data Brino says, so again, I posted it earlier that the link was filtered. The Seattle Pinball Museum, which we talked about, is one of the upcoming events here. If you're visiting Seattle, like if you're not a local, apparently, it's $23 admission for adults and all set for free play. So basically just a flat $23 and play as much pinball and classic arcade games as you want. So that's a lot cheaper than what they had on the website there that we showed earlier. And he said some retro games, not a lot. Donkey Kong and Miss Pac-Man. So I guess apparently it's only 2. It's mostly pinball. Okay, so I think I caught up to the chat. So hey, go check out Coco Town's thing here, because this is basically, like I said, the last of where his code was left off as a teenager. And now he's going to start going through and seeing what he can fix. I really hope he completes the game because it looks like he got pretty far. I mean, basically it's like, proper scoring and, different levels of going through different things to come onto the screen to come after you type thing. And obviously, I mean, his skill is definitely good enough to do it if you watch any of his other stuff where he's done all of his other assembly language stuff, recently. Next up, 8-Bit Rerun, which is a fairly new channel on YouTube. It's only at 14 subscribers. Posted a Septani video about a CoCo 2 clean and retro bright. This is a PAL CoCo 2 because you can see that color is spelled correctly on the back when I show that bit.
Spelled correctly.
Now, I'm not a guy that does cosmetic fixes like, fixing the yellowing, etc. And scratches, etc. But he used a method here that I'm not familiar with. Maybe you guys are, and I just have missed all of this. And it seems to have pretty good results. And this is actually to repair case damage, not just color. And I stupidly didn't write down the exact thing where he's talking about it, but I'll see if I can find it here. He does a standard scrubbing and cleaning, blah, 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 that everybody else does. And you can see it's a bit dirty on the inside there. Here we are. This part
Oh, is it like a baking soda mix type of thing?
might be. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, it was something I'd not heard of.
Let's address
Yeah,
that. I've made a
baking
paste
soda
of
and,
baking soda and window
oh.
cleaner. It's effective, but we need to use it cautiously since it's abrasive. I'll start with a rag for general areas, then switch to a Q-tip for precision.
It's clean.
So basically, you're kind of filling it in with this mixture, it looks
Before,
No, this is just a cleaner.
After.
There must be something else going on.
time to tackle the remaining marks.
So it's like an abrasive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the filler must be somewhere else nearby.
I don't see any case damage. I can see a lot.
Yeah, I thought he had.
Yeah,
Yeah, if it's just scratches, it's a little different.
yeah
than
no, I
thought.
like the soda and Windex as an abrasive. That's slick. Or
This
the
looks
magic
like it might be
eraser.
actual case damage. In the lower left there, that might be like one of those melted cord things.
Yeah, I think
Right.
For
he
the
had.
deeper cable burn, I'm reaching for some ultra-fine sandpaper.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
And this is what David Ladd uses to
I'll
brush
then
his teeth.
finesse the finish using the Q-tip and baking powder paste.
Okay, so there's still a dent, but it's not so obvious.
So it sounds like Mark and possibly Rick, you guys are familiar with this baking powder paste he's talking about. So what is that exactly? Is this
Super glue and baking soda.
Well, no, there's two things. I think Mark O is talking about. Yeah, the super glue and baking powder that makes it build up, and then you can sand it down and fill in things that way. But here
Basically,
he's just using it as a bartender's friend or something. A little baking soda and Windex to clean everything off of everything and sand it where the edges don't show, and it's just kind of smooth.
It's fine enough to get down into the texture
Exactly.
without removing the texture.
Exactly.
okay? I hadn't heard of that technique before. That's kind of cool.
It's helpful. I'll have to remember that one.
Anyway, you can check out the full video. It's just over 12 minutes. And on the 8-Bit Rerun channel on YouTube.
So
go ahead.
Chris in the chat says the fillers, baking soda, and super glue. Says that's how I put together CoCo 3 of questionable treatment after the case got run over.
Yes, sir. If you need super glue with body, just sprinkle baking soda over it and you'll have it.
Yeah, it always says can you get yellow baking soda for the yellow cases if you don't retrofit?
Oh yeah, there you go. Put a little food color in your baking soda. Yeah.
And Chris added too, he said the baking soda acts as a catalyst for the super glue. It dries very quickly and you can build up to strengthen broken parts. So it sounds like you can layer it on if you have one, kind of let it solidify.
Well,
and then
unlike
Comes like a Bondo.
yeah, unlike gobs of super glue, which just aren't strong. Baking soda and super glue mix becomes, like you say, a Bondo. It just puts everything
okay.
together.
I had no idea this even existed. That's cool. Next up, 8-Bit Boys on YouTube. Finally got around to opening a box for Septendi that he got from fellow YouTuber Geek with Social Skills. We've covered some of his videos recently, and he's actually active in our Discord almost a year ago. So I'll just play a little bit at the beginning. I'll talk about the history of this whole package thing.
So this little tweet you see here was actually from back.
What's happening?
Ooh, we lost audio or something, perhaps.
What was that?
It's like everything stopped.
Yeah, nothing's moving, no audio. It's just.
Oh, it's playing here. Let me stop the share and restart it.
Curtis was enjoying the audio, just nobody else was.
Yeah, he was having a good time.
Hey, it wasn't my internet this time.
Did you share
mom
audio?
down and bring it in and
there
set
we
it
go.
up in my office. That conversation took place between me and Geek with Social Skills. And that's what this little video is going to be about. The package that arrived on November 15th, 2022. What was in it?
One of the longest unboxing videos I've ever heard of. Now, you said this is a barn find. I'm thinking, is this the CoCo 2 that Tim Linder rescued and gave to Geek with Social Skills last year? I was hoping Tim would be in the chat, or even Geek with Social Skills would be in the chat to kind of flesh that out for me, because I think that's the one that Tim had found. We also found that Model 3 that was kind of ratched up.
It was all rusty.
And then he sent that one to Adrian, or how did he send that one to? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I think he sent
Yeah, it was Adrian.
But this one actually came with a couple of goodies, which was kind of cool. I mean, it's got the original manuals and stuff here.
Spectrum analyzer, it looked like.
Yep.
Yeah, it does.
And the card manuals. Unfortunately, he didn't actually fire it up and run it yet, but interesting serial number, which I think Tim had mentioned at the time too. 0001234.
Manual looks in good shape too.
Yeah. I'm hoping he'll have a follow video actually running it and see what he thinks of it, and try the audio spectrum analyzer. Which I mean, we've covered it before, like a year or two ago, that some assembly language programmers have actually taken a look at it from other platforms and going, that was amazing. They got that to work with the 6-bit DACs we have, type thing. The audio spectrum analyzer is quite accurate given the limitations of doing it through the 6-bit PIA. Ken, I'm going to mute it. You can just talk a little bit.
Ooh, I guess talk about myself.
Yeah, I know it's your favorite thing. Nick taught you well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I got back from my trip to my cabin, on my way home, I stopped by some guy's place in Saskatoon, some Curtis guy. Anyways, so
really boring guy.
Yeah. He just wanted to talk about OS 9, so I just grabbed some stuff and left.
Hey, see, I taught him well.
Anyway, so a bunch of stuff here that I will be doing videos on in the future. I just did a quick video of unboxing everything. Actually, one of the things that was pointed out to me, this disc case, if you rewind it a little bit to actually show the disc case when I take it out of the box.
A little bit more?
That should be about right. Anyways,
sorry.
The disc case, it actually says 3.17 centimeter, 5 1/4 inch discs.
Huh. Does it?
So yeah. What the heck do they mean by 3.17 centimeters? Where did they get that number from? Because that is definitely not a translation of 5 1/4 inches.
No.
It's not
There's
even
there's roughly 2.5 centimeters in an inch, so that doesn't make sense with anything.
It's not even accurate if you go the other way of going 3.17 inches to 5 1/4 centimeters.
2.54 centimeters per inch exactly.
So that was pointed out in this video to me by 8-Bit Show and Tell. That's now he really wants some 3.17 centimeter discs.
We all.
But what was Radio Shack thinking?
Actually, I'll pause it here because I got a private message from David Ladd. He was surprised you'd never heard of this card before.
I had heard of it. It didn't place as soon as I saw it.
Oh, okay. It's a little hard to read here, but it's a Microworks cartridge, the DS69A, which, for those of you not familiar, that's a video digitizer.
Yeah.
The first version.
If Ron Delvaux is still on the call, there was a DS69B, which was kind of optimized for the CoCo 3. There was a DS69 before the CoCo ever came out that Microworks put out for 6800, like SWTPC computers and other things too. Ron, I believe you have the B or the A?
I have the A, and I sent it in because it broke, and they made it a B when it came back.
Okay, so Ken's now got the earlier A version.
Okay. Yeah, that was CoCo 2.
So you had one back in the day.
I have a video on my Ron's Garage that shows how it works if you want to go look at it sometime.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been reading the instructions on it. I just have to get myself a either a Y cable or a multi-pack so I can use
You
it.
have to be careful not to put the cartridge in. I think what I had done is put the cartridge in when the you know,
Powered
the
on?
Digitizer was
yeah.
powered up.
No, when the multi-pack was on.
Oh.
And I must have screwed it up. So I sent it back. They didn't charge me a dime to fix it. So it was great.
Anyways,
And for those-
lots of goodies here that I'm going to be able to play with.
Yeah. As I mentioned there, you actually have CoCo Max 1, the original, and CoCo Max 2. So
Yeah.
you've got the complete set there. I think you mentioned the video too. There's one or two things you're probably the most excited about. Did you want to mention those as a kind of a sneak preview of some of the videos you'll be doing?
Well, definitely lots of game discs, so I'm excited about that. But also, there is a computer with an interesting add-on. It's a CoCo 2 with a banker switcher, so 256K of memory.
Yeah, that one I'm looking forward to too, because I couldn't get this when I was doing brief testing of it. I got it to boot up as a 64K CoCo 2, but I couldn't get it. And it looks like there's a couple wires that I think from looking at the schematic, and I'm not an electronics guy, it looks like there's a switch you're supposed to install to flip it on and off. Because there was some software compatibilities with stuff like Telewriter 64 and stuff would not work with the 256K enabled. Does anybody on the panel go ahead, Ken? Sorry.
Well, I was going to say I'm kind of interested in booting up the 256K and then putting in Frank's Retro Rewind's diagnostic cartridge and see if it
has a clue what to do with this. I'm guessing no.
Frank, you aren't done yet.
Found
Yeah,
something
you
you
need
have to
another
upgrade that cartridge for, Frank.
Yeah, and that one he also added composite video too. So you've got a CoCo 2 with composite out already
Yeah.
pre-installed.
Yeah.
I assume that the 256K was only really ever used as a RAM disk.
RAM disk and print spooler, and it was also used for P-mode graphics. You could reserve. I can't remember. Do you remember what said in the instructions, Ken? It's like 170 screens.
I haven't
or
gone
something.
through the instructions too closely yet. So
And they patch basics. You do like P-mode 4 come 128, and you could have a ton of screens there.
So, Ken?
Yeah.
I've got one of those bankers.
Okay.
Oh, you do?
Let's see. At least this one here from.
Right here, let me stop sharing so you can make yourself large so we can see it there.
Make myself large. Large and in charge.
Not through eating, just on the video. Yeah.
And big in thyself.
So this guy, right?
Not yet.
That's a Disto 1 meg card. That's just the 1 meg upgrade, isn't it?
Is it? Okay, then I got
Yeah, that
grab
is.
the,
There's additional boards with that. I've got one.
then I've grabbed the wrong bag.
Oops.
Okay, so that one had the circuit board and you piggyback the RAM, right? The J&R banker.
I haven't actually opened the computer up to look at it yet, so.
Okay.
I did open up briefly, but I don't remember. I do remember they sold a 256K and a 512K version of it.
I guess.
But yeah, it
maybe
was
I should,
mainly.
hang on. So let me get out of my closet and get back to the screen so I can take everyone up. But I think maybe this is the.
My question is, why is it in a box and not in a computer?
It's this guy, right? Or you haven't seen?
Yeah, it's got a couple wires come off it. That might be the one. Yeah, because they have that
looks like
switch.
it.
So. Yeah, so I think this is where the switch went, is on that one, and then these were the extra address lines to the RAM, and I think you piggybacked the RAM on the computer. You know, like on a CoCo 1 or 2, you had the bank of 8, and I think you piggybacked your 256 on top of that. This one says 512K.
Oh, you got the maxed out one then.
So So yeah, I should reinstall that someday.
Cool. You have somebody else, if you get stuck on it a bit there, Ken, I can help you set some experience with it too, because obviously I haven't. And plus, if
Yeah.
you're going to ask me for electronics advice, you might as well just shoot yourself in the head.
And I've got the manuals still somewhere.
I've got the manuals here, luckily.
Yeah, they came out with a couple. I think there was an installation
Yeah, there's the
one.
user's manual and the installation manual are here.
I think they're on the archive too, if I remember. I did take a look to see if I should scan them in first.
Okay.
But this actually came with the extended basic manual and the full-sized color basic manual, which is still not on the archive. We only have the mini 14 chapter early release when they weren't quite ready yet. Someday one of us is going to have to finish scanning that sucker in, but I don't want to destroy mine, so that's pretty well have to get the extra couple sections.
I think I might actually have a couple of copies of it, so I'll have to look.
Yeah, because that's still the bottom one here, the original color basic one, the full size version of it. That's still, to me, the best basic manual ever written for a home computer.
That's right. It's really thick, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the one that they released at the very beginning when the full version wasn't ready, they basically did section 1, skipped sections 2, 3, and 4. Was the one published for the first 5-6 months. The CoCo, I think in early 81 is when they did the fixed up full version. And that's the one that's scanned in the archive, is the old, 14 chapter only. Doesn't have the machine language section, doesn't have the stuff on doing, I think, random cassette file stuff. Some of the field, or no, that's just basic. I'm thinking of. There's a bunch of extra stuff, like more technical stuff that they added in that is not in the original version of that manual, which is what's on the archive right now. Anyway, Ken's got a lot of stuff to play with there. He had, 3 boxes I gave you, I think?
Yeah, well, 2 boxes in a bag.
And a bag, yeah. So some software, some hardware, something for everybody.
Oh, and happy birthday.
Where I get.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Sloopy, are you still on the call? I'm going to take that as a no. Can't see on the side here.
Yeah, he's completely gone.
Okay. So Sloopy was on this, and this was Art Jab Master talking about a CoCo 3 that he picked up at VCF Midwest, and you can see on the upper left there, and you can see Sloopy on the upper right. Now, Sloopy got called away, and he asked, because I was in the chat, because he mentioned that this stream was coming up about a person unboxing a CoCo 3. So I actually popped in and joined the show for about an hour or something like that. And he went and tested the CoCo 3's working fine. He's got to get a CoCo STC, etc. And then the guy in the middle on the top is Joe from Joe's Computer Museum, I believe. And he's got a CoCo 3 that he actually had done on a stream a year or two ago that I had covered. And
Top centers, Joe.
Yeah. And he actually fired up. He's got 2 meg in it and everything else. And I said, you should fire up Nitrous 9 and give it a shot. So he had the original, archive version, which doesn't have the GUI set up and doesn't have command history properly set up and a bunch of other issues. So I said, why don't you just go grab EOU off my site? So he did fire it up and he actually showed people the GUI later on the show. So if you want a beginner's look of Nitrous 9 EOU for just a couple minutes, it's in the video as well. But more talking about getting, CoCo 3s into the hands of people that have never had one before, didn't really know too much about it. One video I did not put in the news here, but I should mention there was an interview with David Heine and Bill Hurd at the Kitchener CoCo show that was on last week that Frank helped sponsor, and hopefully Frank's still in the chat. At one point in there, they were actually having a roving floor cam, so the person was taking the camera so that David and Bill could see what they were showing, and of course covering Amiga stuff because that's what they're famous for. But they went in one of the side rooms there to show a prototype of the Amiga 3000 or 3500 instead of the retail version of it, and there was a CoCo running Nitrous 9 EOU right next to it, which I, since I didn't watch it live, I couldn't bug him about it, but I'll have to ask Frank about that at some point and see what that setup was about. So it's cool. People are doing some Tandy videos covering EOU that I didn't have to do anything. Next up, a person named Drake on YouTube. Their Septandy was also a CoCo related one. This is a CoCo unboxing with some extras. Now, this actually came with a fair number of extras. So I'll play a little clip just when he's doing the unboxing at the beginning here. And he's a Canadian too, from my understanding. So you should recognize at the start here, of course, is the EdTasm box. So obviously you're getting the cartridge version of Diskette DASM, the editor assembler, as well as the manuals, as we just saw from Ken's. And I think he's got the full-size one as well. Now, you notice right now, that's not a CoCo stock keyboard. That's a Mark Data Products upgraded keyboard, which I think, Ron, you have some of those.
Yeah.
I think one or two of the other people in there might have these as well.
Correct.
Which is basically the same as the Dragon keyboard, which is a beautiful keyboard. Got some of the original aluminum handled joysticks. One, the ends broke off, so I'll have to either fix that or use it as a sawed-off shotgun joystick like I did. It's a thumb operated. Now, you also notice here, now that he's getting closer to the case here, you can see that he's got a power LED light that the person had installed. So this is not just a stock, obviously, because of the keyboard, but they've also added the power LED light. The Radio Shack badge is actually on the left. So this is an earlier one. I think this is pre-F board. So it's got to be a D or an E. I'm pretty sure it's an E board. He didn't open up in this video, but I'm pretty sure it's an E board because his Rams badge here from Tandy is a 32K model. Now, the D board was only marked for 4 and 16, and usually Radio Shack replaced the board if you took it in to get it upgraded with a E board, which is rated for 32K. So I'm pretty sure that's what he's got. And he's got some cables and stuff. He's got a drive wire cable that came with it, actually, was kind of interesting. So whoever had this.
I think Radio Shack published the directions for the D board 64K.
They did,
tech
and they did upgrade a couple, like from the people around here at the 4 or 5 Radio Shacks that were pretty popular, the CoCo people, a couple of them did do upgrades on the D board, but most of them exchanged it.
Yeah, I think earlier than the D, you had to upgrade the board.
Yeah, the C board for sure. But I know, like my friend Dwayne, he took in his 16K D board. He wanted to upgrade to 32K and extended basic, and it was delayed for about a month. And then when he got it back, we opened it up and he had an E board.
I mean, somebody was being lazy.
Yeah. And that wrapped in the plastic here, that was the original chiclet keyboard. So he actually has the original. And then he's got some other bits and pieces there too. And fired up and it worked right off the bat. So once again, I mean, generally with CoCos, you don't have cap problems that some of the later retro machines had, because that was before they started making all the bad caps that everybody complains about and leaks and stuff. So hopefully he gets to try some of the software and stuff later. I'm not sure if he wants to hit Ed Tasm as his first project, but he did play the one game cart he got with it, which was Megabug.
I got a question for you guys. Does the older gray case CoCo have the yellow bar on the side like the CoCo 2s do?
It can.
Check out the video.
Yeah.
Now, one thing we talked about last week is that most of the time it appears to be, what is it, a 555 timer chip or something?
Yeah.
But there's also a capacitor replacement that Ed Snyder recommends if that doesn't work. Does anybody know any details on that? Because I kind of wanted to follow that up from last week.
That would make sense, though, because the 555 needs a cap to time it. So it's a set. So if one don't work, do both.
Because if I'm not an electronics guy, but from what I understood because somebody sent me the link to Ed's talking about this on his site, and it sounds like this is a recommended change, even if you don't replace the 555. Like this cap works better than those stock.
It's in this
one that they put in.
Value a little bit.
Imagine that happening on a CoCo.
This is something that's been getting talked about for a while in the Tandy assembly and also on the Tier City Discord. A lot of people can't make it all the way out to Springfield to go to Tandy assembly, especially the Cots hotels and stuff there. So there's been talk for a couple of months now of trying to get something set up on the West Coast. Now, they actually have something that they've announced officially this past week. There's going to be a meetup at the San Francisco State University on November the 4th between 2 and 5 p.m., but it's not a full show. It's basically just like a gathering of people who want to kind of talk about, Tandy computers. They are planning on making this into an actual full-blown Tandy assembly show in the future, but this is just kind of a meetup to see how much interest there is. It's just a little 3-hour, almost like a users group meeting type thing. There's a sign-up sheet. You can get to the show notes there to get a link to it if you're interested and you're in the San Francisco Bay Area. I would highly recommend it because it'd be nice to have something on the West Coast that people could go to too that are interested in all of the TRS-80s, as well as the CoCo, as well as the Tandy 1000s, the Model 100s, Pocket Computer line, etc. And there's a few people that will be there that are regulars on the Trash Talkers show that can't get out to Tandy Assembly in Springfield that often themselves. So this is a way of having a second one set up. Kind of like the CoCo used to do with CoCo Fest in Chicago and then the Atlanta CoCo Fest, for the North and South, basically. So this is kind of that same idea. So anyway, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area or close enough that that's not a big trip for you, like I'm imagining, Mark, you're probably not too far away from there. You could do it in a day's drive instead of like a day and a half.
9 hours to the Bay Area for me.
Okay.
Only about 45 minutes by air.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, like I said, you can check the show notes there on the Discord, which are already published there if you want to grab it now if you wanted to, but that has the link to go if you want to sign up for it, or you can even actually say, I do not have planning to attend the meetup, or you're not sure if you can make it type of, they just want to kind of gauge the interest and see if they have enough support to actually have a full-blown show, say, next year. Next up, we had a couple here from Boise, all related to the same project. He's got a couple little parts of it. So he's mentioned that they've got OS9 Level 1 ported to a project called the Phoenix F256 Junior, which is a real hardware system. And I'm assuming it's using an FPGA of some sort to simulate a 609, because this thing runs at 6 megahertz, the equivalent of a 609. So it's more than twice as fast as even the Gimme X maxed out. They've got DriveWire support already running in it here, booting OS9 Level 1. So I'll just play this, just a quick little clip just to show it running. It's kind of hard to read. Unfortunately, it's filled in with a lot of stuff we probably didn't really need on the screen here, but you can see he's actually, sending stuff. The DriveWire is responding. So he's grabbing command stuff off the virtual drives. And for us, used to seeing Level 1 on a CoCo 1 or 2 here, this is literally six and a half times faster. And then he's got a bit of here kind of explaining it, which for the audio listeners, I'll just read this little bit out here. Now that OS9 Level 1 is running well on the Phoenix F256 Junior, I'm looking for forward-thinking individuals with programming skills to help push this exciting new platform forward. Has 6 megahertz 6809, 512K of flash, and up to 512K of RAM, 320 by 240 256 color graphics, tile and sprite support, 2 SN7649 sound chips. I'm not familiar with that particular one. Is that a 8-bit or 16-bit?
I think it's the one GMC uses, remember right, CoCo Junior.
Okay, so with two of them, that would be stereo then.
Junior.
Okay. Joystick ports, built-in ESP32 port, high-speed RS-232 port, SD card interface, DMA. All of this fits in a mini ITX motherboard that you can put in a modern case, all for under $300 for the entire chunk. Plus, the designer is supportive of the OS9 community and wants their help. OS9 Level 2 is on the horizon, and Stephanie Allaire has plans to team up with the Turbo 9 guys, which we've talked about on the show before as well, to support their new core, which will increase the performance even more beyond the 6 megahertz 6809 you've got now. This isn't a pie-in-the-sky dream design on paper. This is a real piece of hardware that is available now, and Level 1 OS9 is already running on it, ready to go. And we're excited to advertise. Come on board and have some fun with us. And then he had posted a link to their actual site there if you want to see the actual hardware. Here's like an example with a real floppy drive hooked up. Integrated keyboard, future CPU options. They're talking like it supports a 65C816, which is like the Apple IIgs style chip, I think.
Yes, it is.
Plus a 6.29 megahertz 6809, some of the options and memory, etc., cartridges, some pictures of the boards, etc. there. So if you want some information on it and get into more detail, you can just go to their site and check it out. If you want to talk to Boise about it, he's been actively talking about it in the standard 6 or standard Nitrous 9 channel, the 3.3 release version. He's been talking about on there. You can ask questions there or on Facebook, where he's posted it in the OS9, Nitrous 9, and Color Computer groups on Facebook. So cool stuff happening there. This is an update to a story we covered before. The Dithertron website, which we talked about, was starting to work on adding support for the VDG chip. And this is a site that will take any modern style graphic that you want to throw at it, like a JPEG or something, and then let you with a whole bunch of different settings for, dithering and all kinds of stuff here. We'll let you convert to a graphic format for older retro machines, 8-bit machines. And we showed a few examples before the C64 multi, etc. Well, they've added in the VDG stuff. So we've got CG2, 3, and 6. So this is the 4 color modes. They support both the palette sets, color sets as we call them. 128 by 64, 128 by 96, and 128 by 192. The last one being Q mode 3, basically. And you can fiddle with them, and then you can actually save them back off if you want. And you can save it as a ping, which probably wouldn't be too much use if you're going to use an actual, game on a CoCo or MC10, or the binary version of it, so you can actually just grab the data and start using it. So they have this little sample picture they always use. Can't remember what the name of it is. Basically, it's for the audio listeners. It's kind of a.
It's a Monet, I think.
Yeah, it's probably a late 1800s painting of a river shore or something like that, with people wandering around.
The park or something like that. I think it's like 1897.
Okay.
Try the
What's that say?
Williams machine.
Part what?
The Williams machine. Williams arcade.
6847, 6847.
68,
I think we did. Didn't we do the Williams last time?
Yeah, we did. The new ones are these.
Yeah, these are the new ones they just added this last week.
Yeah, but none of those are any good.
Well, let's see.
They're ugly.
And this is a fairly complicated picture to try to render with all the.
Yeah, they made it hard on purpose, right?
I like the fact it kind of follows you in real time, kind of lags behind a bit as it's updating, so you can actually see it. But you can resize the chunk you want, and then slide that over the picture if you want any particular specific part of it. And then you can change like your dithering options. There's a whack load of those, which I don't even understand what half of them are. That one's pretty gross. But the fact that he's got the VDG ones working and that multiple people amongst us have been suggesting you should support those CoCo 3 modes too, because it's basically EJ, which already has a version of. So it's basically just accepting different resolutions. So in that case, it should start looking a fair bit better. So if I go to here, that would be kind of the equivalent of the CoCo 3, which looks a little bit better. Now, to be honest, if you look at the original painting scan here, it's kind of all dotty looking anyway. I mean, it's not what I would say is the best picture to choose from.
Well, right. It's meant to be hard.
Hard, yeah.
Yeah, and it is.
But this is one where you can actually upload your own. You just browse on your local file system from his website, and you can load in any picture you have and then get it to convert it. And then you can actually download the actual one here after you decide where you want to crop it, etc. So if anybody wants to make like a graphical adventure game for an MC10 or a CoCo or a CoCo 3 or something like that, and you have a bunch of like pictures of stuff you want to use, you can go through and fiddle with brightness, contrast, color, saturation, diffusion, what type of dithering you want to use. And
yeah, I noticed when you changed the dithering, the trees really worked for a while there. So depending on what image you have, playing with these can really maximize each one without having to make a blanket decision. Okay, all my graphics are going to be like this. You can make each individual screen look better. I like it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of things to play with, and it's all done in pretty well real time. So
yeah,
a lot of options here.
In the 6847, it really makes a difference how you dither it as to how good that image looks. So this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think for like an adventure game where you want a lot of little pictures of scenes, etc., I think you could do some really cool stuff with this.
If you put a better picture in there, you get a better idea what it does. That's a horrible picture.
Yeah, well, like Rick said, this was meant to be one of the hardest ones. Like if you want to really hit this algorithm hard, you don't want to give it a nice, here's a couple of black and white bars. Of course, it's going to render that perfectly type thing. This is a lot of tiny little shade changes almost every single pixel. So it's challenging to try to get that to work. I mean, right now, using this EGA mode, which is basically the CoCo 320 mode, doesn't look too bad. It's pretty recognizable. It's not perfect, obviously, but it's not too shabby considering. Anyway, fun to play with. You can just go hit them. It's the 8bitworkshop.com/dithertron. I love that name too. So
yeah, that's good.
And then we got a bit of Dragon news. So John Whitworth posted on Facebook in the Dragon group that the Dragon power supply unit boards are back in stock as of his post yesterday morning, or maybe after it was yesterday. He had 16 of them up. And I know that's something he was getting a lot of requests to make some more of. So he's got a bunch up there. And if you need one of those, you can go grab it now on his site. I don't know how many he's got left because I don't think his site really says. And you get a bit of a discount if you bulk order. Most people, I assume, would not have to do that. Next up, this was a post from Doc Feelbad on the Dragon Facebook group, and it's actually posting a link from the Home Computer Museum in the Netherlands, which we've covered before. They have a CoCo 3 set up there, they have Dragon set up there, etc. Where they were going through a bunch of old stuff they'd had in storage for a while and discovered a few fairly rare items they didn't even know they had. And one of them here is the official Dragon 32 demonstration cartridge, which apparently was basically for internal use only or for trade shows and not something they sold to the public. So this is not something, it's very common. And then they also show some pictures here of the Dragon running some of the high-res graphics, text modes, etc. And this is some of the stuff they've been pulling out, all these discs and backups and stuff here of stuff that they may not actually have anywhere else. So pretty cool they found that. I'm interested to see a video of what it actually their demo does, because that's not something I think I've ever seen. I don't know if 6A has either. And this is an interesting one. We've actually talked about this on our show about the CoCo in general, and that is basically that there seems to be a tendency of people from the CoCo community getting involved in IT or data processing or hardware design or whatever at a bigger ratio from CoCo people than most other 8-bit machines at the time. We were much more the hobbyist, hands-on computer rather than, strictly games or strictly business or what some of the other 8-bits were. So Richard Harding decided to ask the same question basically on the Dragon group. And his basic question with 6 or 7 options that he listed there: did your Dragon have benefits beyond an entertainment machine? Did it help you in your career, even as a qualification? That could have been learning to program, learning to type, or even using educational programs. 80% of the respondents said yes, the Dragon helped them get, a job or with their career. 2% said yes, some other 16-bit computer helped me. 8% said no, I just played games. So like less than 10%. Now that might be biased to the fact that people that are still using Dragons up to now, just like people still using CoCos up to now, probably are a bit more technically oriented. Though with all the retro gaming coming back with all the machines in the last few years and getting much more popular, that may be changing the ratio back a little bit, but we'll see. But that was pretty interesting that 80% said that they're using the Dragon back in the day helped them embark in their career. And we've talked about that even here on the panel, that it probably is pretty close to the CoCo one. So I think we had a few more that were gamers back in the day that are just getting back into the retro just for the gaming side of things. Dagrath's a popular one, or Downland or something like that. And the last one I've got here is not CoCo related, but it's involving some friends of the show that have done stuff for the CoCo before. I've attended CoCo Fest a couple years in a row, and this particular video they did, which they recorded partly or mostly at VCF Midwest.
And they did it at Septandy. I'm so mad now.
Well, they did, slam the 6502 a little bit at the show 2 years ago, so we gotta give them credit there. But it's such a fun video, and it kind of shows.
You didn't flip your screen.
No, I haven't yet.
Oh.
But basically, it's Taylor and Amy, and they did a song, the 6502 song, which is kind of talking about stuff related to 6502, whether it's video game systems, home computers, video consoles, etc. They, of course, are great at singing. They got a bunch of rather famous people at VCF Midwest to participate. Ken, I think you were a security guard or something to make sure they can get interfered with. Is that what I understood?
Yes, I was.
That's why they didn't get you up there to sing with them too. But
it was about girls using 6502, so I wouldn't have fit in.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, everybody on that video is female. You're right. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, they had like Jerry Ellsworth and some other YouTubers that I'd not really heard of before because I'm kind of isolated in the CoCo community. But
Jerry Ellsworth?
Yeah, Jerry Ellsworth is the bottom left.
Yeah, Jerry Ellsworth.
Yeah.
And I recognize the lady in the bottom center. She has a channel too. She's a system admin now, but she has.
She's like the Linux
Commodore
guru or something, isn't she?
Yeah, and she's going to be starting some Tandy videos soon. I turned her.
Was it Nitrous 9 that helped turn her?
She will be a Tandy person.
Yeah, because I remember I'd never heard of her before. Like I said, I'm kind of isolated in my CoCo world here, but I think she's got like 73,500 subscribers herself.
Yeah, she's fairly new, but she really blew up onto the stream. That's Veronica Explains.
Yeah.
Okay, and this one here, I can't remember who that was. This is Jerry Ellsworth over here. For those
She's
who don't
with
know.
Tilt 5, I think.
Okay, and of course, Taylor and Amy up here. So I will play this in entirety. This will actually be the ending of the show. The attendee assembly thing's already started, so I'll probably be hopping over there afterwards. But it's just good fun, and thanks for pointing out it's all females. I don't know why I didn't notice that.
And they're petting a pet.
Yeah.
There's a joystick in my hand. There's a Atari on the stand. Put a cartridge in the slot, cause we're gonna play a lot. Switching on my Famicom, cause Nintendo is the bomb. Mario's the one I love, slipping on a power glove. It's an 8-bit world and we're 8-bit girls, it's true. Oh yeah. It's an 8-bit world and we're 8-bit girls, it's true. Yeah. 6502. Now we landed on the block.
No, I'm offended now.
You can hang up anytime. They can harmonize good.
Yeah.
Good song.
Pole position, give me speed. Breaking up the centipede. Retro games are what I need. 6502. Yeah, we've got the highest score. Always say we want some more. Whoa. 6502. Microprocessor.
But shouldn't they have done it showing Commodember or something?
Well, they're covering 652 on everything, so that's like Famicom stuff that have nothing to do with any specific platform.
Coding basic like a boss. This RF jack, what's it for? Hooking up my Commodore. Software on a floppy disk. Apple II cannot be missed. Want to see an epic fail? Dysentery on the trail. It's an 8-bit world and we're 8-bit girls, it's true. Oh yeah. It's an 8-bit world and we're 8-bit girls, it's true. Yeah. 6502. Yeah, we landed on the block. Space Invaders took some shots. Then we ate up all the dice. 6502. Frogger dodging all the cars. Breakout hitting all the bars. Playing some Revenge of yours. 6502. Pole position, give me speed. Breaking up the centipede. Retro games are what I need. 6502. Yeah, we've got the highest score. Always say we want some more. Whoa. 6502. Microprocessor. 6502. Microprocessor. Woo! 6502. 6502. 6502. 6502. 6502.
Sellout.
6502.
What's that?
6502. 6502.
Sellout.
Yeah, we landed on the block. Space Invaders took
Look at me
some
pointing
shots,
fingers.
then we ate up all the dice. 6502. Frogger dodging all the cars. Breakout hitting all the bars. Playing some Revenge of yours. 6502. Pole position, give me speed. Breaking up the centipede. Retro games are what I need. 6502. Yeah, we've got the highest score. Always say we want some more. Whoa. 6502. Microprocessor. 6502. Microprocessor.
Now they're petting a pet rock.
Yes.
That's what.
No,
makes
I thought it
work.
was good. I mean, for those who don't know the history, this 6502 team was a bunch of ex-Motorola people that were working on the 6800 and wanted Motorola to make a cheaper processor because it was too expensive for 6800s. And Motorola said no. So they split off and created the 6502, which then took the world by storm because it was cheap. And,
$25 versus $330 cheap.
Yes.
Well, they brought the price down eventually, but you know.
Well, would they have if they hadn't had this split off? And
Right, it would have been $330 forever if they hadn't.
But doesn't
Probably.
the price reflect the actual worth of the chip?
No, it was actually a bit unbalanced even with that. But I mean, I actually view this as a positive thing because once they did this and they split off, it forced Motorola to lower the prices on the 6800s and then the 6809. Now the 6809 was still pretty expensive because it was a more advanced chip. But if they had not done this, that would have probably been a $400 chip when it was released, and you would not have seen it in a CoCo. You would have probably had a C80 or something in it. So I think, as much as I'm not a great fan of programming it versus 6809, to me, that's like night and day. I have to give them kudos. I mean, first of all, the first two machines I ever used had 6502s, the PET and the Apple II, but it helped instigate the price war between CPU manufacturers that actually made them affordable as home computers way earlier than it would have without. So I have to give them props.
Drove the demand, because without getting them to hands to people, there wasn't the demand for them.
Yeah, it would have been hobbyist stuff. You would have been trying to buy gimmicks for $7,000 still, type thing. So I have to give them some props on that. Now, if you remember the song they did at the first CoCo Fest they went to, not this past one, but the one before, they did have a line in one of the songs saying 6809 is greater than 6502. And in the interest of not trying to alienate their base, because their base is all retro people, they did explain that you can interpret that as literally the power of the CPU.
It's just math, man.
Or you could do just mathematical, like they mentioned, or you could go by price, because the 609 definitely was more expensive than the 6502, even with the price reductions. But as Ken mentioned, you've actually got one of them going to be starting to try out the CoCo, I guess, with hopefully Nitrous 9, so because she's the Linux person, so that should feel like old home week for her. So the thing is, the 6809 was definitely known as being a better processor. You can read the reviews and Byte and everything else from the time being, but it was a fair bit more expensive, and because it was a fair bit more expensive, it didn't get used as much. There was basically the CoCo, the Dragons, the Thomson from France, the Vectrix. Williams used a lot of their arcade games, a lot of pinball machines used it, etc. So it was still pretty popular, but it never reached the mass market like a 6502 or even the Z80 did, just because those were cheaper. And that's where cost meant stuff. That's also why the CoCo actually sold quite well compared to some of the other machines, because it was affordable. I mean, CoCo outsold the Tier City Model 1, 2, 3, and all the rest of the black and white Tier Cities because it was cheaper. So, but all in good fun too. I mean, it's just fun watching them. They have so much fun. And they're having it so that it's it's an all women thing, because the tech industry is rather famous for being pretty chauvinistic, shall I say, over the years. It's getting better. Jerry Ellsworth is actually one of the people that fought that. If you've ever watched any of her history when she was starting her own chain of computer stores in the 90s, or when she was getting into electronics in the late 80s, like she was told, "You're a girl, like forget it, just go away." And that's not the right attitude to have, type of thing. And she's one of the pioneers that kind of helped try to reverse that trend. And the other people pictured here and Taylor and Amy are helping reverse that too. So, and I think Ken, you'd mentioned that there was a lot more women at VCF, I think, proportionally than previous years too, right?
I would say, yeah. Well, I mean, there was just a lot more people. I don't know. I don't know if it was proportionate.
Pick a demographic. There was a lot more.
Because just from what some of the walk-bys and stuff like David Ladd took, I saw a lot more women there, just wandering the aisles and stuff than I remember seeing in the previous years.
I would say there definitely was, but I don't know if that's proportionately a lot more or just the fact that there was a lot more people.
Yeah, my gathering from looking at it, I think proportionally, but that might just be me.
Or maybe it's just because most of the footage that I've had and David Ladd had was right from the CoCo section, and
No, David did a complete walkthrough. The whole
did he
thing.
do a walkthrough?
And,
okay.
Yeah, and well, at least me personally, I saw, like I said, proportionally more women than I remember seeing in any previous VCF.
That's great.
So I think it's starting to equal out. Anyway, you guys should go check out the song without us yammering through it. Actually, on their site, it's actually gone a bit viral. It's probably one of their best played or most often played videos. Like they have 3.3 thousand subscribers, and I think the count is already at 6.2 thousand. So they've had almost twice as many people viewed as they actually have subscribers to their page. So,
and now we've got to all go through this and figure out the Easter eggs, like petting the pet rock and petting the pet, and how much other stuff like that is in here.
Yeah, and they're covering like 6502s, like the Famicom and stuff from the 70s. So they went and
Right.
covered the entire gamut. The Nintendo 6510, which is sort of a 6502.
And then in the chat, Mark Siegel's asking what's with the 1984
Good
on the
question.
shirts. Their shirt sleeves.
I don't know. That's a 6502 shirt she's wearing too. So was that the release date of the Nintendo in Japan or something? Maybe. No, it's 83, wasn't it?
Seems a little bit.
I guess we'll just have to ask them.
Yeah, we'll just have to ask them.
Maybe that's when they started using a disk drive.
All right, go support their channel. They're great fun. They've attended our shows. We try to help each other. Like I mentioned them, they mentioned us on some pretty big panels at VCF that probably we would never get mentioned at otherwise. Like they were on the one at which VCF was the one in Texas? The one this past summer?
Southwest.
Something
must be.
I mean, they were on there with Jerry Ellsworth and Bill Hurd of Commodore, some of these people that have 75, 100,000 beyond viewers, and they gave us a big shout out because they were getting asked, what is the prejudice against women in the retro community in particular? And they said they hadn't really hit that, and they said that when they guested with us, it was like a big family thing. So they were quite impressed with us. They haven't had any problems with the retro community.
That's nice.
Yeah, so a big thank you to them. That's why I wanted to give them a shout out on this video, even though it's technically not CoCo related per se, except for bringing the price of 699s down. So we had a CoCo.
So
Because
we had
honestly,
one,
we wouldn't have.
exactly.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had one otherwise, unless you wanted to spend $1,000. So anyway, that's the show for today. If you guys want to get even more Tandy stuff, you can go to the TRSA Trash Talk show live on YouTube. Links in the show notes, and I also posted it earlier. They should have been started up about half an hour ago. They'll be covering the Septandy, which is next weekend. So if you want to see what speakers are there, what vendors are there, what's happening at the show, you can head over there.
Okay. Ready for the outro?
Yep.
This concludes another episode of the CoCo Nation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCo Nation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCo Nation Show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCo Nation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCo Nation is over. Join us on the CoCo Discord server. CoCo forever.
So that stands for their thing from the channel, their tagline, best friends since 1984.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
So it's about the Taylor and Amy show.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely are running. I just brought up Trash Talker. They're actually going through the schedule right now for the Tandy Tech Track talks and the general schedule for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So,
Okay. I guess I will push the button.
hey, see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
We're
everybody.
sorry.
Bye.
Yeah, we're sorry.